Welcome to Monday Night Meat and Potatoes, the podcast where three guys with big opinions and even bigger appetites go head-to-head on all things food, movies, sports, and whatever else gets us fired up. We blind taste test the best and worst colas, barbecue sauces, peanut butters, and those weird pickle-flavored snacks you see at the store but never dare to try. We rank them, we review them, and sometimes even surprise ourselves. Because trust us, we did not expect Casey Masterpiece to take the crown. It's not just food. We're talking movies, sports, personal stories, and whatever madness is going on in the world. One thing's for damn sure. We're loud, we're funny, and we're not afraid to tell it like it is. Monday Night Meat and Potatoes. Now, here are your hosts, James, Fridge, and Tommy.
What up, Monday Night Meat and Potatoes crew? I'm James.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Tommy.
There is a drunk Tommy here today. We got a special guest here, Kevin. Kevin, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm just, typical mechanic looking to hang out with some guys and see what this is all about.
Now, what's a typical mechanic?
Guy that fixes cars.
Right on. So you're a car mechanic.
Yeah.
You could be a different kind of mechanic.
Yeah, sometimes I fix other things too.
I'm going to get right into it. You brought it up. I see the Lions Cup sitting there. Frank Ragnow announced his retirement today.
Depressing.
Yeah.
The man was the best center in the entire NFL league, and he retired, citing his 29-year-old body as giving up on him. Do you guys think that's true, or do you think he was a contract holdout and didn't like his contract?
He was broken down. The writing was on the wall. I just wish he would have done it before the draft, so we knew it was. So we could have drafted somebody to replace him, but I think he was trying to get ready for training camp, and he knew that he couldn't do it, and decided not to.
So you're buying into my body is broken at 29, which I'm not denying. I mean, the dude played through so many injuries.
Yeah, he had like an inoperable toe.
Just cut it off. I mean, you don't need all your toes to play football. I'm just saying. According to Adam Sandler in The Heartbreak Kid, he played golf with a guy named Six Toe. So, he kept the balance points. I think our team is going to be worse without him, obviously. But I am confident in this team's ability to show their grit,
I do think that it will affect the team. Do I believe that it's going to affect us enough to harbor our playoffs? No. I think we're getting there either way.
Jim Harbaugh doesn't play for us.
Nice try.
Okay. All right. So, that's enough sports talk for today. I'm going to get right into our food topic here, or one of them anyway. We've talked about mishaps at restaurants and raw ribs coming out but covered in barbecue sauce and shit like that. What is your biggest mishap cooking? You ever served someone that had like a shellfish allergy, shrimp without knowing, or sent out raw meat, or used the completely wrong ingredient and your food just completely got fucked up?
I've never done that.
You've never fucked up cooking?
I've never served something to somebody who has an allergy or anything like that.
But I'm just asking what your biggest cooking mishap is.
I guess that would be serving cheese to my wife in my spaghetti sauce.
Was that a mishap, or were you sneaking it in?
I was trying to sneak it in.
And she found out?
And she knew something was off.
Kevin, have you ever done anything cooking, wrong ingredient, just completely fucked up a dish?
Well, there was a camping trip we were on a few years back, and it started downpouring pretty good, and I'm trying to cook everybody some steaks up for dinner. And I was not really paying attention to how hot the fire was, and thought it was hotter than it was. and steaks looked nice and done, and everybody cut into them, and on the outside they looked cooked. On the inside, it was still moving. And I mean, I'm a medium rare steak guy, but that was not medium rare.
Sounds to me like you made a perfect steak.
I was going to say, I'd still
some
eat it.
people would eat it,
I
but
like mine to still move.
that was one time I disappointed everybody with my steaks. I'm like, man, I'll still eat it, but
I'm going to correct my worst cooking mishap. The first time when I was in my early 20s, I bought lobster
okay.
and decided to cook lobster at home and did not realize you didn't cook it like you cook steak.
Yeah, that's true.
So I threw it in there and I cooked it. And then I cooked it some more and cooked it some more. And a chainsaw couldn't get through that thing.
Nice and rubbery, eh?
Oh, rubbery? No, that was an understatement. It was, you couldn't cut this shit.
Damn.
That was my worst cooking mishap.
I'm trying to think of mine right now.
I would say one of my worst I've ever done is I've always known that you're supposed to put a little, Denise even taught me, a little smidge of brown sugar in your
Spaghetti sauce.
or tomato-based sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know how much, measured with my heart. Ended up serving candy spaghetti sauce. So that was pretty bad.
Is that where they got the idea on Elf?
Yeah, exactly. You know what, though? At the same time, I don't think maple syrup on noodles sounds like the worst thing in the world.
No,
Yes,
it'd probably
it is.
be pretty good.
It doesn't sound that bad.
Yes, it does.
You say that.
Little cinnamon sugar in there.
Yeah.
Breakfast spaghetti, I could do it.
I could see a dessert spaghetti being a thing.
No.
I'm going to have to make it. I'm going to make it for you. You're going to like it.
I think mine would probably be making burgers too big, and then they're being so raw in the middle, thinking
There's no such thing as a too big of a burger.
So you know what though? A lot of people when they make their hamburger patties, they don't flatten them out or they don't dimple the middle, and then they just puff up and they just they turn into these little oblong, weird little
Hoppy
shapes,
pucks,
and they're smaller than the bun, and they always just don't cook right. I hate that.
Yeah, they always shrink.
My burgers are twice the size of the bun itself.
Well, yeah, that's why you need 2 heart stents and 6 heart surgeries.
And what's your point?
I'm just saying,
Sometimes it's worth it.
it's worth. Sometimes it's worth it. Would you say it's 60? What are you? 69, 70?
Fuck off.
You think it's worth it to continue to eat? Let me ask you this: would you do it all again?
Yes, I would just start the medications earlier.
So that's all you care about. If the medications keep me at bay,
There's certain things in life that you have to expect. 1, pay taxes. 2, you're going to die. Why not die happy and eat what you want to eat?
I agree.
I agree with that somewhat. But
I'm not saying eating to the point you're going to die.
I was going to say you're going to die at 60 or die at 80. I mean, 20 years of extra happiness, but a little less happiness. Now we're talking.
Do you want to eat salad your whole life?
I mean, I love salad. You didn't say only
So
salad.
do I. But would you want to eat something that you enjoy? Or do you want to go your whole life and eat just what's healthy?
It's weird from a fat guy to say eat it in moderation.
Portion control.
It is. My problem in my whole life has been portion control. Because when I enjoy something, I eat to a point that I'm very gluttonous.
And that's exactly what I do.
And it's not a good habit to be in.
Nowadays, when I'm having a dessert, I want ice cream. It's like 2 scoops instead of filling the bowl until it's over the bowl, which I always used to do.
Agree.
Which is how I ended up the way I am, and now I'm fighting it.
I am very, very regretful that I am the type of person who eats to a point of gluttony. If I enjoy it, I eat it, and then I'm miserable.
Yep.
But in the last probably year, I have really started to tone that down a lot, where I can enjoy my meal and still enjoy life after I've eaten.
And that's a hard thing because we used to go to buffets a lot.
A lot.
And I'm going to bring up, we've talked about it. Have you been to Harbor House before, Kevin?
I have not.
So they are not a buffet, but they're an all-you-can-eat. You pay $35, and they have like 15 options, and they cook it fresh, and you get a miniature portion of it, but as much as you want. But they used to have 25 years ago, all you can eat lobster.
Yes.
And my dad would go in there and eat 15 fucking lobsters and go home and puke his brains out. So,
Got the taste of Swice.
I mean, I guess at the same time, lobster being a luxury food, why not eat until you can't?
I guess, yeah.
So I'm gonna our next one. I got this. We're gonna do a blind rank again. I want you guys to rank these movie theater snacks without knowing what comes next. I got 6 of them for you, and we're gonna start easy with the popcorn.
That's my go-to. It's going to be number 1 for me.
Are we rating on a scale of 1 to 10?
Nope, you're just ranking them 1 through 6 without knowing what comes next.
I didn't hear that part. I'd say a 3. You know, they're just right in the middle.
5.
Tommy's not a popcorn fan. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, yeah, I'll eat it, but if I'm going to the theater, there's a lot more options that I would pick.
There is now. I mean, back in the day, you had a glass case of popcorn and a glass case of 6 or 7 different kinds of movie theater candies.
Candy.
Unless you snuck it in yourself.
Which you always had to back in the day. I mean, my pockets were always lined. Why pay
Right.
$15 for a popcorn?
Yep.
This next one is a bit of a stretch for a snack, but it's one of my go-tos. Ices.
I'm going to go with a 4.
Okay.
I love an icy, but it's not my go-to.
What kind of icy do you normally go for?
Mine is either going to be a cherry or the Coke.
Typically Pepsi for an icy, right? I mean, Tommy, what about you?
Cherry all the way. I usually go cherry.
Where are you ranking it?
Ooh, I'm going to go middle of the road, so 3.
Okay.
I have to say a 5.
5. All right. And I'm going to put a quick caveat here. Icy over Slurpee any day. I think icy has the better texture.
Oh, yeah, cherry icy. If I'm going to go to 7-Eleven and I get a Slurpee, okay, but I love icy.
I don't dislike a Slurpee, but I think they're just better.
I
feel like
agree.
they're both. Anytime I drink one, I always feel more thirsty after. So I feel like they're the same, really, in my opinion.
They're just robbing you of your water.
Yeah.
So you prefer the chunkiness of the icy over the Slurpee?
See, I think ices are smoother typically, whereas the Slurpee gets clumped up and then you start sucking just juice out of ice.
And see,
Yeah.
I think the icy is more of a coarse ice
Well, that's
than
more of a slushy.
Slurpee.
That's more of a slushy.
I think it's been too long since you've had a true icy. I think you're going to have to try one again. Next time you go to MJR Theaters, make sure you get an icy.
I'm used to getting them at Speedway.
Which, by the way, I do want to touch on it about Bloodlines, but I don't know if you've seen it yet, so we'll have to do a spoiler-free review. I know I saw it with Kevin, so we'll touch on that a little bit. Number 3, snow caps.
5. Not a fan.
Really?
Nope.
I'd say a 2. Childhood favorite.
They were my go-to candy.
Last spot, so 6 for me.
So
I don't care.
They're just a version of a non-Perriel, and I think they're delicious. All right, they're one of my go-tos. All right, next up then another chocolate candy. How about Milk Duds?
Ooh. I'm going to give it a 3.
I do like a good milk dud, but I'm not putting it in my number 1, so it's going to have to go with a 4.
I want to go number 1, but I don't know what else you got on the list, so I'm going to go 2.
I think my number 1 is this next one coming up, and I feel like this might be some of our number ones. Pretzel bites.
Yeah.
1.
I already used one, so I'm going to go number 2.
Especially at MJR, the pretzel bites with the nacho cheese, number 1.
And you got to get the extra cheese. They don't have
Yeah.
enough cheese
No.
for the whole order of pretzels.
If the cheese is good, they're fabulous.
Oh, yeah.
And calling it good cheese is always a stretch, though. It's still plastic melted cheese,
It is.
but it's good. So that brings up the final one then, gummy worms.
Oh, man. I love gummy crap.
He's falling asleep and just, I love gummy.
So my last spot, I think it was 5, so it has to go to 5.
Sadly, I only have a 6 left.
All right.
I think I had a 2 left, so it's stuck in the 2 spot.
Now, obviously it's a blind rank, so where would you guys have changed what you've done?
Gummy worms would have been number 2 under pretzel bites.
gummy worms would have been number 1 for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Gummy worms would have been number 3.
All right. Gummy worms is Kevin's number 1 snack of the 6. Now, I got to get into it. Favorite brand of gummy worms, then?
Ooh. Kind of a tie between Trolley, the sour gummy worms, or Haribo. Or Haribo. Or how do you
Yeah, the
pronounce
gold
it?
pack.
Yeah.
So I got Shelby's huge into gummies. I got her the 7-Eleven brand, and I bring it up all the time. 7-Eleven brand snacks are fucking fire.
Better price, too.
Yeah, so we got the gummy worms, and I tried them, and they are, I think, my favorite gummy worm I've ever had. So I definitely suggest trying that.
So, question: prefer the regular gummy worm or the sours?
Oh, sour, 100%.
100%.
It depends on the day, but typically sour.
Always sour.
I always like the regular. I'm boring.
Do you like sour candy in general?
It's all right.
Now, I will say regular gummy worms are great in a dirt sundae.
Okay.
Who made those gummy worms that were in dirt?
Me and Shelby did. If you're talking about for the party a couple weeks ago?
No, what is it? Oreo cookie or
Oh,
something,
you're
isn't
just
it?
talking about like the brand. I don't know. I know actually Red Lobster used to have a dirt cup as a dessert for kids. It was on their kids menu. So I do remember having those when I was there. Now when it comes to sour candy though, I just had for the first time in a very long time lemon heads. Does anyone here like lemon heads?
Yes.
Love them.
I wouldn't say I like them, but they are pretty good.
If they're in a bowl of candy, it's the first thing I'm grabbing.
I dig it. Okay, you know what? So I got to touch base because I side at it. Now you said gummy worms are good in a dirt cup.
Yep.
It's my least favorite part of a dirt cup,
Really?
and I'm going to continue adding into that because I saw them recently at the movie theater. They have now chocolate covered gummy bears. I don't like them. I don't think chocolate and gummy worms or gummy bears go together, and I think that's why it's my least favorite part of a dirt cup.
Huh.
Give me the dirt cup with the chocolate pudding and the Oreos and all
Right.
that, but I will separate the gummy worm and eat it separately because I don't like to taste the chocolate and gummy worm.
I guess it really depends on like what flavor gummy worms you're having, because strawberry and chocolate go great together. And if you get strawberry flavored gummy worms, you probably would like it. Then.
I'm allergic to strawberries,
Oh,
so
well, so then that's probably
I
why you
don't
don't
even eat
like
those. So I want to touch base. We're on movie theaters. Recently, a new edition of the Final Destination franchise came out. Dad, did you see it yet?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so we can talk about this. Tommy, have you seen it?
No, but oddly enough, Becca has never seen any of the Final Destinations. So the past week and a half, I made her watch all of them, and we got through all the movies.
Nice.
And now she understands the log truck.
So when I just went up, took a motorcycle trip up to Alpena, and on the way back, we stopped at a gas station about halfway back, and there pulls into the gas station a log truck, and I go, "We're following that home," and everyone's like, "Fuck you!" I'm like, "What?"
I just came back from Escanaba and did the same thing.
So I will say this though, real quick. When you said Becca has watched all of them up until the new one, the fourth one, I think it's called simply The Final Destination.
Yes.
That is the worst one of the entire franchise. I fucking can't stand it. It's the one with the NASCAR, right?
No, I think that's the third one.
Nope. No. It's the fourth one.
Third one is the roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
Oh, the
Yep.
roller coaster. Yeah, okay. Whatever the one with the racing. Yeah, it's terrible.
It's the worst one. The acting is fucking god awful.
Yeah, it's where you're right. It's where they introduce the 3D effects. It's
Yeah, they
terrible.
lost their practical effects, and practical effects is what makes Final Destination so much fun.
I think they were trying to rely on the 3D to make a
Yeah,
solid
it was
point.
terrible.
Yeah, and I don't like 3D movies. I never have. They give me a headache, and if they're not filmed in native 3D, they always suck anyway. Anyway, so I'm going to go around for the two that have seen it. Spoiler-free reviews. Let's hear what you think about it. We'll start with Kevin.
That was good. There's some stuff they could have done to help tie the rest of the movies into it, but again, that's my own opinion. But other than that, it was good.
I think the movie overall, ranking it 1 through 10, I'd give it an 8 because I think the storyline was good. The action was good.
Yep.
And even though you knew what was coming, you enjoyed it.
All I know is I'm not leaving any pennies laying around.
So it was actually kind of funny because we watched Shelby never seen the third, fourth, and fifth. So she watched the first three. We saw the new one. Then she went back and watched the fourth and fifth one. And in the fourth one, The Final Destination, the coin is a big point of it too. You know, the lucky coin. And I'm like, these just all coin based.
Well, just so you know, you don't have to worry about the penny. We're
That's what
getting
the
rid
penny
of
does.
it.
Yeah, right.
I will say, I think it's the second best of the entire franchise. As for your point of tying it into other stories, I mean, they kind of did, right?
Right, they did a little.
You know, but yeah, I could see, you know, other than the fact that there was one recurring character, which I'm sure we could all take a
Right.
guess who it is.
I just feel like what they could have done with, I mean, without spoiling too much of it, is with the movie being titled Bloodlines, is made it to where everyone involved was related to one of the events in the movie.
Okay.
And it would have explained why death was after all of them this whole time.
I will say I did really enjoy the red herring of the first oldest kid. I'm not going to get into anything, but I really did enjoy, you know, the tattoo shop kid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed the way they did that. They're like, oh my God. What it reminded me of is, has anyone here seen Hot Tub Time Machine?
Yep.
Is this the point where he loses his arm? And that's just how I felt the entire time it was happening. So yeah, I'd give it up there. I'd probably put it around an 8 as well. I think it was the best one, except for. So I'll put it at number 2, and I'm gonna get shit for this. Number 2 being my number 1. I think number 2 is better than number 1.
Number 2 is one of the better sequels out there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I think number 1 was still better.
You know, number 1 was almost like a prelude to number 2. Number 1 just kind of set the almost like, how can I say this? Explained what was going to happen in number 2.
there's that, and also that number 1, and we can spoil these movies. They're fucking old as shit. So if you haven't seen them, so too bad. Number 1, you know, the premonition happens on the plane, and then all these people are very connected. You know, they're hanging out half the time. Half the deaths happen in front of other characters. Whereas number 2, all these characters, sure, they get together at one point, but they have deaths on their own, you know, without being in one place and other people witnessing it. They built the characters up more and had their own stories and shit like that. So I just think 2 was more in depth, and I personally like the deaths better.
Okay, so to change the subject and stay on the same movie line, sexiest character in all of the movies.
Devin Sawa. Oh, you didn't mention female. I said that. I'm saying that for Shelby. Shelby has a major crush on Devin Sawa. He's her Casper, she says.
Oh my God.
And also she loves him in this was a coming of age movie. What was that coming of age movie that she makes us watch with Devin Sawa in it? Where all those little girls are fucking painting the garage door. You know what I'm talking about?
It's right on the tip of my tongue.
I'm going to look it up while you guys talk about the sexiest.
Okay, back to the sexiest female
Yeah, you got to mention.
in the entire series.
I'm going to have to go back through and rewatch them all again because it's been so long. Preferences in women have changed.
I'm
So,
right now. Go ahead.
sorry,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you're good.
You go.
Yeah, I can't even think of their name right now.
Allie Larder,
You're talking about the blonde from the first one.
without a doubt.
You're wrong, but that's fine.
Well, wasn't she also in Resident Evil?
No,
No,
you're thinking of Mia Jovovich.
No. What movie was she? What other horror movie was she in then? Is that
You're talking about her. I think her name was like Cleary or some.
Clear is her name in Final Destination.
Yeah.
Now and Then is the movie with Devin Sawa that I was thinking of.
There you
anyway.
go.
The sexiest one in all the movies, believe it or not, is in Bloodlines, and it is the person that plays the grandmother, the crazy grandma, when she was young and had the premonition.
I was.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I was seeing the sexiest girl was the MILF. I think she was in 5. She was the barber. She went to the barber shop, and then her eye got hit by a rock coming out of the salon. She was also the girl in Liar Liar that was in the elevator. She played this. It was the same
Oh
girl.
yeah. Well, everyone's been real nice to me. Well, that's because you got big jugs.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same girl, but she is the girl that it made it look like she was going to get killed in the salon, but she actually got killed as she was walking out of the salon by someone who was mowing the lawn, and a rock ricocheted and hit her in the eye.
Yeah. So I'm going with Breck Bassinger. Apparently, she also plays in the series Stargirl. Never seen it, but she played the young grandmother.
Okay.
I think she might have even had red hair in that movie. I don't even remember. It's only been 2 weeks, but that, in my opinion, is the best looking person in all the Final Destination movies.
So can everybody agree that Allie Larder has gotten hotter as she got older?
She was hot in Varsity Blues with whipped cream and cherries on her tits.
So now I did just look it up. She played Claire Redfield in the Resident Evil movies.
And I can't picture that.
I think she's
been a long time since I've seen it.
fucking gorgeous.
She does nothing for me, but I'm gonna look her up here.
She was great in the show Heroes too.
Never seen it either.
Never seen that show. Wow, it's a good show.
Oh, look her
Well, at
up.
least the first season was.
Yeah, I
She's,
mean, they were all good, but the first season definitely was the best.
she does nothing for me. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No one ever said you didn't have taste.
What about Sean William Scott? I mean,
No.
we're just gonna ignore that. Okay.
He'll
Okay,
always be
moving on.
Stifler to me.
You know what? He was very much typecast as Stifler, but then he was able to break out of that role, in my opinion, for a couple things.
He was decent in the movie The Rundown.
The Rundown wasn't bad. I mean, he has all the potential in the world to be an action star if he really wanted to. I really enjoyed Evolution, and I know he's a goofy guy in that, but it's not a Stifler character.
No.
Dude, Where's My Car? Obviously, Road Trip. He's the Stifler character. Mr. Woodcock. That's a great one.
Wow.
Role models, awesome. I
Was he in Bulletproof Monk?
yes, he played Carr in Bulletproof Monk. As we watch a video that my dad is showing. Nah, she does nothing for me. I'm sorry. I'm not going to get behind it on that one.
Me and you usually disagree on the hotness of women, but I kind of agree with you on Allie Larder.
And he's just showing. What is this? Would you consider this softcore pornography? Hardcore soft porn.
No, she's just gorgeous.
That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. Just know you're wrong, and I hate you. So I'm gonna get back on topic here as you show tits to everyone. I got into. I wouldn't even say I got into. I attempted for the first time ever to bake cookies from scratch. Maybe a month or two ago. It was probably a couple months ago. And the recipe I was going for, and this is a divisive thing for a lot of people that have had them, crumble cookie. It was a crumble cookie clone recipe that I made, and it was chocolate chunk cookies. First of all, has everyone here had a crumble cookie?
Yes.
I have not, but I have done my own copycat.
I have not.
You haven't either. So you and your wife or fiance have not had crumble cookie. Okay. We might have to just order some. They're very divisive. A lot of people say things like they're just giant undercooked cookies. Yes, they're expensive. But you're 1,000 calories a cookie. You're getting 1,000 calories for approximately $3. Cost to caloric.
They're more than $3.
Not when you buy a 6-pack. It's $18 for a 6-pack. Now, what I like about them is they have a rotating menu, if you will, every week. And
Every week it changes.
they always have a classic. It's either chocolate chip or chocolate chunk, and that one switches every other week. But then they have their rotations, and some of them are very miss. Some of them are some of the best fucking desserts I've ever had in my life. They had a banana cream, banana pudding one the other day. a couple weeks ago. Fucking to die for. So, I'm having a hard time talking about this because you have people that haven't had it. So I can't do much. Have you guys had any other brand name, famous name cookies then? Mrs. Fields or Fat and Weird or... You know what? Let's just get into it. What's your favorite brand of store-bought cookie?
Store-bought? Probably the Chewy Chips Ahoy.
And that's, again, a wrong answer. You're just all wrong today.
I can go for a really good Oreo.
That's a
classic.
solid choice always.
Yep.
But you got to at least double stuff it, right?
Yeah, at least
Okay.
double stuff or chocolate filled.
And you also have to have a glass of milk.
Yes, with a glass, with a glass of milk.
And see, when I was a kid, I would dunk my Oreo in milk. Nowadays, I raw dog them. So,
But if I'm looking for something different, a double chocolate Milano.
okay.
Amazing.
Okay, now we're talking a little outside the box there. I like that. And I'm going back to you. The Chewy Chips Ahoy, I liked when I was growing up more than the regular cookie with the crunch. I don't even want to call it crunchy because it's not crunchy, but I just don't like them anymore.
I still love a Chewy.
I really enjoy. They are Keebler. And they're like shortbread cookies cut out in the shape of the elves, filled with like a chocolate cream.
Yep.
I forget what they're called,
It's
but
like their version of an Oreo. But with
Yeah.
chocolate cream.
EL fudge or something like
yeah,
that.
something like that. I also love a fudge stripe from a Keebler.
Yep.
And then I really enjoy, I think they're called Do-si Do's from the Girl Scouts. I think that's the one. It's the peanut butter filled chocolate cookie
Yes,
covered in
it's-
chocolate. Those are some of my favorites.
Those and Thin Mints are pretty good.
Thin Mints have to be in the freezer, by the way.
Do they really?
Have you never done that?
Yes.
No, I have not.
Put them in the freezer. It just enhances that minty freshness.
I bet it does.
So
it's a good idea.
super good. I don't.
They add an extra bite to that cookie.
Okay.
I don't care too much for a lot of Girl Scout cookies, but those two I like, and there is one more I do not dislike, but then I hate. Everyone loves them. It's the one with the coconut.
Samoas.
Is it Samoa's? Okay, can't stand them.
No, thank you.
I'm very disappointed in their s'mores cookie. It's something in the last few years. I'm not sure exactly.
Yes, and that one's a cream filled one, isn't it?
but it's really hard cookie, and the cream is not that creamy.
Yeah, and it's got that weird when you're chewing the cookie every now and then it gets a weird like
Texture.
yeah
Yeah.
because it's
It's like an off marshmallow.
yes thank you.
And
I'm
I
not
will
the only
say
one.
that Girl Scout cookies are made in 2 different locations now, and they're not the same. They do
didn't know
taste different.
Yeah. So that's probably where that one comes from.
They're
Because there's a few on their line that are newer that I
mean-
cannot get behind any of them.
I just recently found out because I've been complaining about the cookies,
Okay.
and they make them in 2 different locations, and depending on where you get them from, they do taste different. They're not the same.
in the same breath, I just learned this. Coca-Cola, they license manufacturing plants around the world, and there are 3 or 4 in the United States that makes the Coke for their region. And they give them their syrup, and they make them their own way, which is why Coke from like Mexico actually tastes different.
Well, Mexico uses raw sugar.
Yes, but you can even when
cane sugar,
when you got the cane sugar Coke that they came out with maybe 10 years ago, it did not taste the same as
No.
the Mexican Coke.
No.
And when I learned that, I thought that was kind of interesting. So Coke is more or less licensing manufacturing plants to make their Coke. And there's one in the Middle East that serves all of Middle East, one in Europe, and there's like 3 in the United States. I just thought that was quite interesting.
I've never had a better Coke than in Mexico, though.
Yes, a Mexican Coke is absolutely the best.
It
And that
is
goes for their
the
Sprite,
best.
too.
Yep.
We'll go back to Taco Tienda, my favorite Mexican place. They have imported Mexican Coke and Sprite as their drink options, and I always opt for it. Speaking of Mexican restaurants, though, I've never had one. I want to know if you guys have, and if you have, what are they like? Do you like them? Topo Chico.
The hot sauce?
No, it's it's a seltzer water.
Oh. Oh, yeah. No, I've never had one. I'm not a fan of seltzer water, period.
never had it.
Same. I'm not. I've never went. I want a Perrier or
Yeah.
Any of those carbonated LaCroix, I fucking hate them.
It's just like a weird texture in your mouth as you're drinking it. It's almost like spicy water, but I love spicy food, just not water.
It's a bad aftertaste.
Yes.
And the carbonation's never enough anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hate half flat soda.
Right.
You know, let alone
Or when
water.
you get a fountain drink that the syrup's almost run out, can't stand that taste.
Yeah.
It's just like seltzer water, which
Yep.
because it's just carbonated.
And you know, I know that all the jokes went around, but like, you know, the flavor was like, you know, we're making watermelon LaCroix next to a watermelon plant, and that's how we got the flavor. It's tasteless, and it's now that I think about it, though, I will say there is something. I don't know if it's considered a seltzer water. Meyer is the one that I like the most, but a lot of brands have them. They're like called Meyer Quenchers. And they're a very heavily carbonated thing, and they come in a 24-ounce plastic bottle. I know you've had them. You had to have. Let me pull up a picture.
Don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I've had them.
Grandma Liss is the one. So your mom is the one that got me into these. And they're extremely heavy carbonated, and a lot of brands will have, or a lot of stores will have different brands of these.
I think I've actually, I don't remember them being called quenchers, but the bottle looks familiar.
I don't know if you'd consider it a seltzer water, but it's more like a clear soda with 0 calories. I mean, that's more or less what I call it.
Do they have a club soda in that?
Yes.
I've had the club soda then.
But the black cherry's always been my favorite. So, Kevin, being a mechanic, I wrote this question for not for you, for everyone, but because you're here, I want to know everyone's dream car, classic and current.
Classic would be my 57 Chevy.
And that's the one with the big fins on the tail, right?
Big fins. Always wanted one.
I know you've been talking about that car since I was a kid.
I owned a 56, but I want the 57.
Okay. If you eat less at buffets and lobster, you could probably buy one before you go.
Probably not.
They you know, believe it or not, they only go for about $25,000.
They're not that expensive.
And that I'm talking fully restored. If you want a project car, you can probably get one for $5,000.
No, you'd have to find a barn find.
Well, we have plenty of barns in Michigan that are decrepit.
Yeah. I'll go down south someday and find one.
Running out of time. Not because of your age, just, you know, the more people are selling these things and restoring them.
Today's dream car, there's nothing. Nothing today in today's market excites me.
I know it's not that F-250 of yours. You've had that thing in the shop more than any vehicle I've ever seen in my life.
Not really.
How many times has it been in the shop?
Half a dozen, maybe.
For a $100,000 car to be in the shop half a dozen times.
That's not bad.
In 5.5 years.
Not bad.
All right, mechanic man, chime in here.
Well, I mean, it is a Ford, and you know what they say about Fords, fixed or repaired daily. But I love Ford because they make me money, so. But no, I mean, realistically, $100,000 truck.
It shouldn't be in the shop 6 times, right?
Shouldn't, but with the quality of cars nowadays, it's not even just Ford.
But my
GM,
truck is, realistically, my truck has been in there for minor things.
Okay, a lot of maintenance.
We had a
Engines,
fire issue
transmissions.
with the seatbelt.
It was a lot of like
Fire issue.
Believe it or not, a fire issue with the seatbelt. The roll pin
Caught on fire.
for your seatbelt.
Okay.
When you hit the brakes, it rolls forward and locks your belt. It created a spark.
Oh, geez.
So it was causing fires. So they fixed that.
So as long as you don't stop, you won't have a fire in your
If you
truck.
don't stop, you didn't have a problem.
a lot of your stuff comes down to quality control on a $100,000 vehicle that I would not be happy about.
And again, it
Other
goes to
than
what I
my
was saying.
electrical issue, I really haven't had any major issues with this truck at all.
I mean, that just goes hand in hand with what I was saying, though. No matter the automaker, the quality has gone downhill.
That's a
GM
fact.
is having issues with their motors across the board right now. Toyota's starting to have motor issues. Kia, Hyundai, if you're not familiar with those, they are the worst engine to have in a vehicle right now.
GM has their transmission issues.
Yep.
I mean, they've all got an issue.
The Kia, the what is it? The Kia Forte, is that the main one? What's their full size car?
The full size would be like sedan would have been the Optima.
Optima, yeah. So do they still put the 2.4 liter in those?
They may have changed that to like a 2.0 turbo
Okay.
or a 1.6 turbo. I'd have to double check. But that's the route they're going, smaller 4 cylinders with turbocharged. And
Right.
when they made that switch, their engines got even worse.
Gotcha.
Back when they had just the 2.0 naturally aspirated, I have a 2012 Kia. They still had their issues, but they were a little more reliable as long as you kept up on the oil change.
I think one of the biggest problems is they're taking these small engines and trying to boost them
Yep.
with the turbos.
Yep.
And it's not a good combination.
It's a combination of that and too long of oil change intervals. They're telling customers 7,000 miles plus on a synthetic oil change. If you change the filter every 3, maybe, and to keep it topped off. But these cars burn oil, and they get low, so people are going 7, 8, 9,000 on them. They're half their capacity low for 3,000 of those miles. Wear and tear on any engine. You need lubrication. Pun intended.
I do mine.
Can you explain that more in depth? Lubrication, what?
Well, it helps things with that aren't lubricated slide in and out easier.
Okay.
So if you think about a piston going in and out of a cylinder.
Can you
over.
give me an example using human anatomy?
Well, just imagine something penetrating your asshole.
I want lube.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
I got you now.
No lube, you end up with catastrophic problems.
Thank you for filling me in
You're
there.
welcome. Which way?
I will say, because I have to drive this piece of shit Ford Fiesta. I'm impressed with the powertrain on that thing. The engine and trans on that car with almost 100,000 miles on it have no issues yet.
Keyword there.
I do keep regular maintenance
Yep,
on it.
that is important.
But I think it's only a 1.4 or 1.6 liter in there. And for a small car, it has no get up and go, but it gets great fucking gas
eventually
mileage.
goes, though.
Yeah.
And
And it's
once you're there.
it seems to be reliable.
Yeah.
Minus the fact that every other thing in that car is falling apart on me.
To be honest, I haven't seen too many issues with those yet.
Yeah.
It was the Ford Focuses that had the transmission problems that they have yet to come out with a proper solution for.
Yeah.
You just kind of replace it and pray it makes it out of warranty again.
I believe they also had a seal problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say the only thing that thing does that's weird to me, and it's probably just something in the ECM that's compensating in the transmission. I've never felt a car do it this extensively. When I'm going up a hill and then I flatten out, it stays in like a high gear for way too long.
That could be something electrical in the transmission.
Yeah.
The solenoid could be not telling it to downshift or upshift if it needs to.
Yeah, because when I get to flat ground, it takes a good, 10 seconds, and it's revving high still, even at idle,
I'd
before
maybe
it
even
kicks
check
down.
your fluid level at that point.
And I have.
Okay.
Yeah, everything seems to be all right. So it's
But
definitely interesting.
Have you changed it?
The trans fluid? I've always been told if you don't do it, within the 40 or 50,000 miles you're supposed to, never do it.
No, I think it's at about 70 or 75,000. But yes, you should.
I always heard if you go way over what you're supposed to, never to change it. Kevin, could you chime in?
I
And
disagree
this is
with
just
that.
this isn't advice; it's an opinion.
Yeah, it is a matter of opinion. Because I've heard both sides of the story. If you've gone over, don't do a full flush.
So maybe
Drain a couple quarts out, top it off, see how it does. That's just my recommendation. I've seen it where you flush it and the transmission doesn't move anymore. It's not the flush's fault, but it was just a
To your point, though, you do need to put some fresh lube in there.
yes.
I've also heard doing a full flush on an old system. You could find those leaks that were kind of covered up by it. Yep. So that's something that always worried me. So no, I haven't done that.
If you're only at 100,000, you're not way beyond. Because if I'm not mistaken, tranny fluid is about 75,000 miles anyway.
Yeah.
I'd have to look and see what it is.
Depends on driving habits, but typically 75,000.
I mean, if you're up in the mountains,
Yes.
it's going to be a little sooner, but
Yeah.
he doesn't have mountains here. No. So at 100 grand,
The Porcupine Mountains are the biggest mountains ever. Okay, those hills are amazing.
change your tranny fluid.
I think the proper term is gender neutral fluid.
This is true.
We are in 2025. Let's not get this podcast canceled on episode 12. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So Kevin, since my dad doesn't have a current car he's interested in, let's hear yours.
So classic car I'd be interested in would, probably going to hate me for saying it, but 70 Chevelle, blacked out,
No one's gonna hate you for that here.
good old Chevy.
Had one.
That was back when they were great. Something newer. I would definitely go with the Toyota TRD pickup truck. Give you something that can be a little utility usage, carry stuff around if people need stuff moved, but then you can also have fun with it. And being where we live in Michigan, you go 30 minutes north of us, and there's trails all over you can hit.
Absolutely.
So,
How about a 442? You gotta love it.
yeah.
Makes you think.
Anything classic, to be honest, I can get behind because it's just it's an art form.
A good muscle car.
Yes, as long as it's got a good heart, sounds great, and it looks great. Doesn't need to be the fastest on the road.
No.
It's just the ride. You're there for the ride, and with these newer cars, they have so much technology into them that is not reliable. That I don't want to have to. You buy something 100,000, and within 3 years, it could need 50,000 in work. You don't know.
It's one of those things where you're sacrificing some comforts for mechanics that just work.
Yeah.
And you can go as simple as an electronic window.
Yes.
You know what never failed? Well, okay, they might have occasionally,
Oh, they
but
failed.
you know what almost never failed is your old classic roll-up window.
They failed.
On a cheap car, sure.
No, any car.
I'm not saying they never fail.
See, I'm old enough to remember
You're old, I know.
that with those hand cranks, the problem when they failed is you didn't want to change them yourself because you took your fingers in jeopardy when you did it.
Those old school scissor.
Oh, those
window
springs
tracks.
would take your arm off.
But at the same time, I was actually just thinking about this during my road trip. If I didn't have my phone and I was listening to the radio, and I'm old enough to remember radios like this because I had one in my first car, but you didn't have the search function where it would search for an FM station. You're twisting a knob and going, oh, something stop, go back a little. Stuff like that, It's just the classics.
You remember the old radios that back, I'm going to say probably 80s, and you took the faceplate off to deter theft?
Oh, we had those all the way up until I had
Yeah.
cars. They were just newer radios for us,
They
but
even make the touchscreen ones do that now.
yeah, but when I remember when I got my first radio, it was a Kenwood radio, and yes, the faceplate came off, and you'd bring it with you because without the faceplate, which had a code built into it, even if you had a new faceplate, you couldn't use that radio because the codes didn't match. But yes, I absolutely remember those, and I remember it being because I got a nice system, and I thought it was the coolest fucking thing in the world because it had. Like an equalizer on it where, when the system's hitting, all the lights would light up and shit like that. Super cool.
It looked cooler than they were, though.
So I'm going to go with my classic car. I am a fan of the Roadrunner. I'm always between, though, do I want a Superbird or a 446 pack? And that's always the thing that's got me. But, and here I'm gonna make it worse, though. I know a lot of people like Roadrunner is just what, a rebadged, different body Challenger, I think, more or less.
Yeah, they're all in the same chassis per se.
Close.
I don't like the Challenger Orange or Challenger Red. I liked that baby blue Plymouth Roadrunner. If you guys know what I'm talking about, that color.
Yep.
Didn't like the color.
I'd love it. And for a current car, though, it's really difficult to say a current car nowadays because when I was growing up, I always wanted a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a supercar like that. But I got to go with probably just I want a GMC Sierra 2500. I love my GM trucks. I miss mine. And the 2500 has a lot less issues than a 1500. So from what I read, okay, I mean you have more real life experience than I do.
I've worked on 3 different ones in the last month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it be a Denali?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to go with Denali, and I want it all blacked out. I hate chrome on vehicles. My motorcycles, my cars, I've never been a fan of chrome, which is probably the only reason I don't care if I inherit your truck or not, is there's too much chrome on it, and there's not even that much.
There's very little chrome on my truck.
But it's a platinum, so, I mean, it has chrome.
Right.
It does have chrome.
Now, I am going to put a caveat here, though, for my classic car. If I didn't go with my classic car, and I have a story to tell about this, I'm a biker. I've had motorcycles since I was 18 years old. I bought a 1982 Yamaha Virago. I bought that, and I don't even know if you know this. I bought that on a coin flip. So we'll go back to coins. I flipped a coin. I had $1,500, and I was either going to buy a mud truck or a motorcycle, and I ended up with a motorcycle because I was looking at. They had it was a Bronco 2, 3-speed manual transmission Bronco 2 that was mudded out, and the only thing that was wrong with it is it needed tires. Which on a mud truck, yeah, tires are very expensive because 36-inch tires. You're looking at $2,000 for a set of tires, but $1,500 for a Bronco 2 3-speed mud truck without tires was a good deal for $1,500. So that would be my other thing if I went a little different route on the Classic. Is I would either want a Bronco, a K5, or a Trailblazer. Not Trailblazer. K5 is the Blazer. Ram Charger. Yes. One of those three, mudded out with a snorkel. That would be my fun. Have you guys been mudding? I mean, it's some of the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Oh, yeah.
I absolutely love my Blazer. I wish I had that today.
And see, I don't remember the Blazer. Was it before me? Or was I just too young to remember?
You were probably too young to remember, but my Blazer, I bought that. It was used for the Grand Prix in Detroit.
Okay.
And a guy had this truck. It was a show truck. And his wife had a heart attack, had a pacemaker put in, and she couldn't handle the ride anymore. So he was literally putting it in the driveway as I drove by. And I made a U-turn, went back and bought it on the spot.
Now, I remember we had a Jimmy. Was it a Jimmy we had? And I remember that.
No, was it?
Don't see those anymore.
The S10 Jimmy or GM or SM Blazer? Is that what you're talking about?
They're both the same truck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if you meant older Blazer, full size. Or
The big boxy ones, those are totally different. This was what he's referring to. It was, God, what year was that?
late 90s, early 2000s.
It was 90s.
Probably early 90s.
Yeah.
Because I had a 03 S10 Blazer, and that thing was awesome in the mud.
The ride in it was remarkable.
Yep.
And that was one truck that even stock you could take up and go through the trails.
Yep.
I mean, it was great.
So, you know what? It sparks a memory. And Shelby gets bored sometimes and looks on Facebook Marketplace for things that we probably shouldn't buy, but she likes to, which we all do. You used to have a van.
Chevy Astro.
Was it an Astro?
Astro van.
Was it red interior or like
No.
a burgundy?
It was burgundy.
Had curtains?
Curtains.
Okay, I do remember this slightly.
Fully decked.
It was a full-size van.
Yep.
And for some reason, Shelby wants to get a full-size van for traveling around the country. And I'm like,
Technically, though, that's not really... Even then, it wasn't a full-size van.
Yeah, those were.
It wasn't a minivan, but it wasn't a full-size. But that was a fully custom van.
I remember I was so young. You probably got rid of it before I was 6, if I had to guess.
No,
And
I technically didn't get rid of it.
I have no idea what happened. If you want to share the story, feel free. But I just have this memory of this thing being gigantic for some reason.
It was not gigantic.
It might not have been. I have memory
But
of
they
it.
were bigger than most cars back then.
Yeah.
It was. My van was a conversion van. It had all the toys, anything you could think of was in there. I mean, back in the day when you didn't have video game jacks and all this shit, that was all in this van. It had the, what do they call that? Infinity roof and all that
Yeah, with
bullshit
the
in there.
mirrors and-
Yes. It was decked. Loved the van. Unfortunately, somebody ended up with it in a divorce.
That makes sense. So, that does bring up a question I'm going to ask. Kevin, you have kids. Obviously, you have kids. I have stepchildren, basically. Let's say we're doing this in a family of 4. So let's say Aiden is with his dad. Mm-hmm. You got 2 kids with you and Rachel. Yeah. What vehicle are you picking to cross the country with on a vacation? Not an RV. I'm talking anything from a van, a truck, a car, SUV, something on today's current market. Comfort meets long drive meets everything. What are you picking?
I'd have to go back because I think Denise's 2009 Grand Caravan was the most comfortable ride that you could ever ask for.
That was a great van. That's the one that had the TV in it and everything. Yep.
You already know what
stories
you're gonna
got.
have.
So
Cable TV.
I was like fucking 12. I don't remember.
I bought this van. I come home and I show my two kids the van. They come out and they're looking at it.
I'm
And
super excited because there's a fucking TV in this van and it has jacks to hook up a PlayStation, which is like, it was like PlayStation 2 days.
He's asking if we got cable TV with it. That's one long fucking cable.
So what? Let me be. Kevin, what are you picking? What are you doing a family trip in?
Probably like a 2010 Tahoe.
Okay.
Nice ride on those. Got plenty of legroom for everybody in the back. You can fit up to, I believe, was it 7, maybe 9, if depending on if they have the extended. But you had plenty of space to carry all your luggage in the trunk. You had the room for everybody to be able to lay their legs out. You had the TVs in the back of the headrests. It was a nice ride, and anytime I get a chance to work on one of those, I always take a little bit of extra test drive because they ride so well. You know.
I am going to go with something that I'm guessing the mechanic is going to scoff at me for because mechanically they're not the most sound thing. But when it came to a way ahead of themselves, creature comforts, especially for the kids in the back, a Saturn Relay. That was an average priced family minivan that had every creature comfort a $65,000 Cadillac had. It had TVs in the headrests, and it had individual, climate controls and stow and go. I don't know what they called theirs for Saturn, but it was basically where the seats folded in. They had every fucking thing you could imagine in this thing, and I actually almost bought one before I bought my Malibu instead of when I traded in my Saturn Aura. Which, as we're on car topic, anyone that engineered, worked on the engineering team, approved the engineering, any person that did anything with the Saturn Aura headlights, and I think that extends to a Malibu and several other GM vehicles where you have to take out a wheel well and a bumper to change a front fucking headlight. I hope you step on a fucking Lego, you fucking prick. Do you have a shortcut for those?
Well,
Or
do you want the proper answer, or
So there's off the mic. There is an answer that you're going to say that you don't want to say because it might jeopardize your job.
Yeah, I mean, you learn the shortcuts as you do the job over and over and over. But a lot of times it's just pull 2 screws, squeeze my arm through the fender lining, and that way I'm saving time on removing the whole thing.
I can't stand the fact that it took me a fucking hour to change a headlight.
Yeah.
And you know what wasn't much better is I had a 2009 Grand Prix GXP. And
My Grand Prix was the same way.
it wasn't the headlight that was the problem. I think it was my battery. Because there was no room. You have a V8 in a fucking very small engine bay. And I think to remove the battery, I had to remove a fuse box and I think the crossbar.
Yeah, because isn't that one tucked in almost
Yep,
inside
right.
the front bumper a
Yep.
little bit? Yeah.
And that's a pain in the dick, too.
Yep.
But I also heard things like, I think it might be a Dodge Avenger or something like that. Or
Yeah.
there's a vehicle where you have to go through the wheel well to
A lot
change
of
the battery.
Dodges that have
My
wheels.
Avenger's that way.
Yeah. Who the fuck does this stuff? Like, is it in my opinion, it's a conspiracy that they're just wanting you to go to your dealership and pay them
It's a fact.
to do a repair. Because these things, there's no way they couldn't have designed it in a way where an average consumer can't change this in 5 minutes. Because that's what a battery and a headlight should be.
Well, the whole idea of maintenance on a vehicle nowadays is they don't want you to do this on your own.
Yes.
They want you to come back and have to use their
Yeah.
service in order to do anything.
Now, I think there's also, I recently saw a TikTok, a vehicle where to change the oil, I think it's like way the fuck up there to get to the oil filter. Like you have your oil pan nut,
Yeah.
and it's like way up in the engine bay.
You might be thinking about the newer Ford Rangers.
You know what? That
They-
sounds familiar.
The wheel well actually has to come off, part of it, to be able to access the oil filter. And even taking the oil filter off, you get oil on everything in the process.
Yeah.
Just engineering nightmare. And they could have easily picked somewhere else to design it. It's almost like it was an afterthought.
Well, even your new Pacificas are located on top of the engine now.
That's the route a lot of them are going. Started with European cars and some foreign cars like Hondas. They started with those canister filters. It is a better design, but they make them so cheap out of plastic that it fails
It's
prematurely.
100% plastic.
Canister filter, is that the one that it doesn't have like the metal casing on it?
Correct.
You can actually see the filter.
So the internals of a filter are the same. It's all paper.
Yeah.
They just remove the metal housing, and
So
it's something you just.
I
take
want to
out.
say my Malibu or my Saturn Aura had that.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely bullshit because when I feel lazy and I don't feel like doing an oil change, I take it in. And everyone, we got to upcharge you. They're more expensive. I'm like, no, they're not.
When they first came out, GM with their canister filter 4-cylinders, the filters were a little more expensive. But as it became the standard across the board, a lot of companies still continue to charge a price.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
Doesn't
like
make any sense.
I got pissed and I went in the store, which was like right next door.
Yeah.
And I looked at them. I'm like, this filter is cheaper than the standard filter, and I'm just pissed that they're upcharging. And I can tell you, I'm hoping that you've never had predatory people working with at your shops, which there might have been, but I know as a younger kid, before I knew about my car, it was very predatory, and I know it happens to women a lot more than men, where it's, oh, you got this wrong and this wrong, or we can do this for you. Or I've even seen them where I've seen them take an air filter, a cabin air filter, out of their fucking drawer and go, this is yours. And I'm like, that didn't even come out of her car.
Right.
And I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, that's not your cabin air filter.
Correct. Unless they're coming inside the car and removing your glove box or pulling apart part of the cowl of the car, it's not your cabin filter.
Yeah.
I think when you go to an oil change place, one of the biggest ripoffs is the cabin filter.
Yeah, I mean, they charge $30 to change it. It takes 5 to 10 minutes to do on your own for the typical car. But they upcharge for every fucking thing at an oil shop now. If you drive by an oil shop place and it says $19.99 oil, you're not getting $19.99 for an oil change unless you have a base model $19.99 something.
Who the fuck has $19 oil changes anymore?
It was just an example.
I was going to say.
The cheapest oil change you can get, and Kevin will scoff at me again, is Walmart. You know what? If you're just going in just for a fluid change, I don't think there's anything wrong with them personally, but you can get them for $25 there for a standard oil change.
You get what you pay for when it comes to their service, but you will come across some of their services. The guys that are doing the jobs, they do an okay job.
Yeah.
I mean, oil's oil. As long as it's slippery on both sides, who cares where you get it from? But at the end of the day, you are taking that risk. Okay, you're paying someone that isn't certified to service your vehicle. If something happens, you kind of
it takes
blame yourself.
It takes one fuck up, and you know what? My two of my brothers have worked at Sears back when they had an oil department, oil change department, automotive
So
department.
did my wife.
And I can tell you that one time, one of them that was working there, not one of my brothers, but someone that worked with them, did an oil change, forgot to refill the fucking oil. The engine seized a mile down the road. I have another one where I got. I don't remember what the service was. It might have even been a fucking headlight change because it was a nightmare just doing the headlights. So I think I did a headlight change on my Saturn Aura and I paid for it. And they didn't tighten my lugs down on the wheel they took off. I'm driving down the road and all of a sudden, and I didn't know what the fuck was wrong. And I looked at it and I'm like, I'm lucky that didn't shear off on the expressway.
Yep.
You do realize that most shops that you go to, even if you took it to GM or Ford or Chrysler, that the person doing the work on your car does not have to be certified.
Nope.
They only need a certified mechanic.
They need one person supervising.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Supervising, really.
Yeah.
It is. Truly it is.
Because realistically, they're not checking their work. They're not approving their work. They're going, you did it good? Okay, bye.
And occasionally they may, okay, I'm going to go take it for a test drive, see if the car is safe to go. And if it passes the 5-minute test drive.
But it is true of most mechanical places nowadays, and has been this way for 25 years.
Yep.
You don't have to be certified. Yep. You only need a certified person on that floor. That does not mean he's working on your car.
Now, I will say this, Kevin, so you're a mechanic. I don't really know the history of how you became a mechanic, so let's start there.
Well, actually, my dad was he was a mechanic. He did it out of our garage for years growing up. So at 11 years old, I was out there.
So he was Jimmy up the road doing side jobs.
Well, mostly because he worked in the parts industry his whole life after he got out of the military. From there, he got into dealerships, actually servicing cars, and then left the dealership scene and started working for himself.
Okay.
So, again, he is a mechanic, great mechanic. Had me helping him out doing brake jobs, helping with brake flushes, tune-ups, stuff like that on older BMWs, some American cars. He preferred working on European vehicles.
Okay.
As I got older, I started taking classes in high school. I was actually blessed to have one of the last high schools in Michigan that still teach automotive.
I was at one of those too, so I was lucky.
Yep. It was a good 4 years. Didn't learn anything. Really was just kind of a joke around class. Got out of school and started working for my dad at a shop because he ended up injuring himself, so he couldn't do the work anymore. From there, got certified and have been in the field since. So worked going on 13, almost 14 years. Now, just to kind of hash back with the whole certified thing you were talking about, I only have 2 certifications. But if you look at my skill set, you would never question that.
Right.
Unless I told you, you wouldn't know either. And that could go hand in hand both ways. You can have a guy that's fully master certified and can't even do an oil change properly. I've seen it, and I've had to go behind him and fix it.
I think your field and my field, being in IT, we overlap in the sense that certifications mean jack shit versus experience.
Yes.
And anyone in their right mind would rather hire me with 11 years experience in IT and no certifications than someone that has a master's degree in IT and no real life experience, because your certs mean jack shit in the real field.
Yes.
So I feel like we overlap there. So that whole thing was my point of bringing up this. I took power mechanics and engine repair in high school, and they were blow-off classes for me too. Here's how you weld, and here's how you solder, and here's how you do the basic shit on a car. And then we had full automotive, which I didn't get into. But when I got my first car and I needed, and I'm going to steal this joke from a stand-up comic, as a 17-year-old does, my car started making a squeal sound when I braked, and I ignored it for 6 months, as a kid would. And then I went, Dad, I need a brake job. How I learned how to do brakes was my dad sat out there with a beer and kind of talked me through it. And then it got to the end, because you brought up safety drive, take a drive to make sure it's safe. My first brake job I did on my own with no actual help from my father. And then he went, take it for a drive. I don't know if he actually knew I did the job right, or if he went, he's going to find out one way or the other. So I want to know.
Oh, you can literally watch a person.
But did you know I did it properly, and that's why you were confident, or did you say he's only going to go 25? What's the
wouldn't have
worst?
let you drive it if it was wrong.
Good, because I've been wondering my whole fucking life for 15 years whether or not you knew.
I will tell you that, in my opinion, brake jobs are one of the easiest things on a vehicle that you can ever do.
They're so intimidating to people, but they're
very
incredibly easy.
Basic.
Unless you run into issues.
Issues are only a matter of what you did wrong.
Not necessarily.
Oh, no. Generally, it is.
I have a good example, because after you taught me how to do my brakes, I did a couple jobs on my own through my cars, and then when I was about 20, 21, I started telling my friends, oh, you want me to do your brakes? Give me $100. I'll do it for you. And then my one friend, and I want to say it was a Ford Fiesta, believe it or not, she gives me her car, and I jack it up. I'm like, I'll bring it back to you. Take off the caliper, the caliper, I don't know what gasket, the squishy part that goes around the caliper.
Boot, yeah.
The boot, okay. Completely dry rotted.
Okay.
So I used the C-clamp to compress the caliper, and the caliper just popped through, and the fucking thing came off, and it's all dry rotted. Now I'm leaking brake fluid, and I go, okay. I don't know what I'm doing. I text her, I'm like, you got to get a new caliper. So I go get a new caliper, I put it on, take it for a test drive. There's no brake pressure. There's air in the lines. I lost brake fluid, there's air in the lines. I go, I'm going to bleed the brakes. I didn't know how the fuck to bleed a brake either. And ended up giving it back to her, gave her her money back, and said, I don't know what I did wrong, but you're going to have to brake for like 9 times the allotted amount. And she had to take it to a mechanic to get it all fixed. So
an error on your part. Point proven.
Was this before YouTube was a thing?
Yes, this is like the year 2010. So I mean, YouTube existed, but
it wasn't mobily
not
accessible.
not in depth of the way that you would be able to find any car in any repair. Now you say error on my part. Something went wrong that you wouldn't normally have to do during a brake job. So yes and no. It was both. Because in a typical brake job, you shouldn't have to replace a caliper.
Typically, no.
I also fucking hate those new now they have new calipers where to compress them you have to have special tools,
computer scanner.
My truck you did the job, and here's
some of them take a scanner now, but it's just simply a reset.
We did a brake job on my fucking truck. Well, Kevin did a brake job on my truck when I had it, and it literally, I don't know what in the computer it changes, but because he changed the brakes. It said I had no braking. It wouldn't let me go above 35 miles an hour, and the brakes were squishy as hell. What in the computer does that? I don't know, but just hooking up an ECM module and clearing the code and saying I did a brake job, it started working right.
Yeah, I actually ended up, after the fact, and ended up reading into why it does that. And it's simply because it doesn't know where to put the rear calipers for the parking brake.
Oh, my gosh.
And so because of that, it retracts them every time you let off the brakes, and that's why it gives it a spongy brake.
That's so weird.
It is nothing more than a computer error.
And all you have to do is go in there and reset that value and relearn it to its new park position.
The only thing that the vehicle knew is that he had bad brakes.
Yes.
It didn't know you changed it.
Yep.
But it still comes down to brakes are still the most basic thing on a vehicle you can do.
One of them, yeah, absolutely.
If you don't have a scanner, I fully understand you have to take it in, right? But even as a backyard mechanic, there's nobody that I would ever trust to do my brakes more than myself, because I know they're done, and I know they're done right. Because I can tell you, as a young kid, I've taken my brakes in and had them fixed and couldn't make it home.
I'll tell you,
because they don't care.
The one thing that bugs me the most is how expensive a brake job is in a
and that's
in a
why
shop.
You better learn to do it yourself.
Because brake pads and rotors for a typical car, you're looking at what, $70 to $80 for a pair of rotors and another $50 for brake pads. But they're charging $300 an axle for them.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Labor.
Now I will say though,
that's really good.
It's a half-hour job if you have the tools.
Brake jobs are easy for disc brakes. I fucking hate drums.
I prefer them.
Do you really?
Yep.
Why? Do you prefer the brakes or doing the job, or is that what you mean?
Speed of the job. I can do drums, shoes, even cylinders faster than because with pads and rotors, you got to worry about cleaning a bridge, hardware fitting properly, seized up slide pins, and just if you end up getting a warped rotor right out of the box, it happens all the time. At least with shoes, you have a couple surfaces you have to clean and lubricate before you put everything back together, but it's just new springs, a couple shoes, and a drum.
They're not hard to do.
No.
The biggest problem with a drum brake is if the owner hasn't changed them in 100,000 miles, getting the damn thing off. Once it's off, piece of cake.
See, my trick to that is 4-pound sledgehammer, crack the drum in half. It's going to come off every time. But you're going to need new drums.
Correct.
And that's just it. If they don't maintain the vehicle, because with drum brakes, you're supposed to get them cleaned and adjusted every 10 to 15,000 miles.
Again, you're going back to maintenance that people don't do.
Exactly. Whereas that is the one benefit to having four-wheel disc. You don't have that type of maintenance on brakes anymore. You can just ride it out till it starts grinding. Should you? No. But.
And then you have, and I need to do them soon, unfortunately, because they only last 8 to 12,000 miles. I have to do my motorcycle brakes soon, and that sucks. But I just found out because I was with him, rest in peace, Freak Show, when he bought his new brake pads for his motorcycle. I don't know why I was expecting it. Maybe not as big, but I expected more meat on the brake pad of a motorcycle than they have. I at least expected it to be bulkier, like even a car. You get what, a half an inch of brake pad. This fucking thing came out, and I'm not even kidding. It's about 2/4 stacked on top of each other of depth on the brake pad, and I'm like, there's no way that they couldn't have made it bigger. And the only thing I can imagine is because maybe brakes are a little more important on a motorcycle. They want it changed more regularly. That's the only thing I can imagine. But yeah, that makes sense why they only last 8,000 to 12,000 miles, though. So yeah,
That is kind of crazy. Didn't know that myself personally. I've never done brakes on a motorcycle.
yeah. Neither have I, and I'm a little worried too because taking an axle off of a motorcycle, all that type of shit.
I don't think I'd change them on my own.
Yeah, it's again one of those things. It's even more expensive to do a motorcycle brake job than a car brake job.
That truck's a 2019. Hasn't had a brake job yet.
Do you drive mostly freeway?
City.
So, well, higher quality brakes and pads also last longer. Again, I'm going to go back to my Grand Prix. I had drilled and slotted brake rotors and they were Brembo brakes, and they lasted, I want to say, 70,000 miles. Making that noise.
The thing about that truck, though, is that's all heavy duty,
Yeah.
right? And because I'm not pulling a trailer, I'm not using it for what it's intended. So they are going to last a long time. When I do these, which will be probably within the next year, I'm going to end up doing them. But
You're going to sell that truck before you need brakes.
possibly. It's only got 40,000 miles on it. But 50 grand, I should be looking at those brakes. But because of the way I drive this, without that extra weight, without braking, going down mountains and things like that, it's going to last a lot longer than a standard vehicle. So I'm not real concerned with it yet. The problem that I'm going to have with this is I'm going to have to go back to work to be able to afford to change them. Because it's an expensive job on that truck.
Those have to be what, $150 rotors easily?
They're about 150 to 200 a rotor, and about 150 for the pads.
Well, when you spend $95,000 on a truck, you bought this to tow a fifth wheel, which you haven't bought in 6 years.
Don't say that on the podcast because Denise might listen to you.
Denise, if you're listening, go ahead, just buy the fucking fifth wheel because I want to go camping with you guys. So before we take our break and get into our food review, I got one more question for you guys. This is food related again. It doesn't have to be this specifically, but this is where my mind was when it came to it.
I would like to interject. My car is a 1970 Nova
Tommy's awake.
SS. Oh, I've been listening. I've been waiting to interject.
You were snoring at one point.
Was I've been listening. It would be black with a white stripe.
Okay.
So
Nova SS isn't a bad option there.
it would be a 1968 through a 1974 be the year, but I prefer the 1970.
I can tell you, since we're touching base on this for one more second, I'm very glad no one said a Mustang. I am a Mustang hater. I don't care what anyone thinks. I know Shelby's dream car is a Shelby GT500 Mustang because it says Shelby.
Oh, Eleanor from Gone in 60 Seconds.
And I can't stand Mustangs. I've never liked how they looked. I maybe in the 70s when they were American muscle, I enjoyed the look of a Mustang.
I had a 1974 Mustang.
Now, I will say this, and I think it's a new age thing because my buddy Scott is huge into them. The worst fucking Mustang to ever exist is not the 2003 or whatever it was, 2001, right around there. It's the fucking Fox body. I can't stand them.
Is that the brand new ones?
No, this is, what, 86, 87 around when they came in?
Late 80s.
And into the early 90s. They were the boxy Mustang that people all put, like, it had a 5-liter.
How about the
lot of
brand
people I
new
know
Mustangs? The brand new Mustangs
Are you
suck.
talking about the
The
hybrid?
SUV, the crossover?
They don't even, what about that says Mustang?
Nothing. Nothing at
There's
all.
an emblem on it.
The Fox body Mustang is disgusting.
Yeah, that was horrid.
I mean, you know what they are.
But that was only there for a couple of years.
It was almost a decade. Almost a decade. But I'm just, when it comes to muscle cars, Mustang has always been my least favorite. When it comes to like your big ones, your Chargers, your Challengers, your whatever. I mean, just never been a Mustang person.
I think ranking top 3, I got to go Challenger. Going with your dream car. The Chevelle.
The Camaro. I mean,
older Camaros.
yes, we're talking
Yes.
classics here. Maybe not.
Even a Duster.
It's 100% considered a classic now because we're getting old, and it's the 80s. The Grand Nationals.
A Grand National.
Those sleeper cars. They're just one of my favorite things in the world.
A Grand National has to be one of my favorites.
That was what, a 3.8 liter twin turbo. And then they also had an SUV and a truck, a Typhoon, and
Same chassis,
a
or at
Hurricane.
least the same.
I want to say, and those were very unpopular compared to the Grand National. But Grand Nationals are fucking sick.
But the problem with the Grand National is you had to replace tires every month.
There is one other car that's always been like a sleeper car that I liked, and it's the Marauder. I don't know why. I've just is it a Ford?
Keeping stoners scared since early 90s. late
They
80s.
they were old police interceptors looking cars, but they nice V8 and they sound fucking throaty.
Murdered out, blacked out Marauder.
Yep.
Oh, I could go for one.
So I just want to bring up one more food topic before we take a break and get into our food review for the night. And again, my thought process went Starbucks, but it doesn't have to be Starbucks. What is your food order or drink order? And I'm going Starbucks for me when you're feeling bougie as shit. I'm talking you want more than just a coffee with cream and sugar. What's your bougie order at a restaurant, fast food style?
It definitely wouldn't be Starbucks.
It doesn't have to
hate
be
their coffee.
I'm talking where you go and you order this meal and you have 6 modifications. What's your bougie order?
That's a good question.
That is a really good question. I got to think about that one for a minute.
Take your time. So
Now, are we talking breakfast food?
it can be anything you
Okay.
want. In my mind, I'm thinking the bougiest of bougie is, when people go there and have a 12 modification drink from Starbucks, which mine isn't even that bougie. I go with a caramel frappuccino with extra caramel, and I want cinnamon on top of my whipped cream. It's not that bougie. For them, that's easy. That's an everyday job.
They're like, that's it?
Yeah, but that's for me. That's a bougie order because I don't modify my food very often.
This is when you're drinking?
Yeah, I don't modify my food, so the.
I
Yeah,
love
really
that he's
think
back
about it.
alive. An hour
Yeah,
later.
I'm starting to like get back into life right now. So, and I have so many questions before break, but
He's going back to topic 1 now.
Right,
you know
right,
that,
right.
right?
man,
Anyway.
I don't really modify food, so to
Yeah.
like really think about.
Okay. So,
So what is your go-to?
let you know what, if no one can think of a bougie, I want to modify my food, make it for me. I'm gonna modify the question.
Okay.
How picky of an eater are you? As in, when you order something, how wrong does it have to be for you to send it back? Because I'm the type of person that unless it's like egregious, if I order a hamburger and I get mac and cheese, I'm gonna send it back.
Yes.
But if I get a hamburger and I say I want it ran through the garden, everything on it, and I don't know, medium well, and it comes out well done with no veggies, I'm just gonna eat it.
Yeah.
I'm not a picky person when it comes like that.
I will generally eat it, but I will let the waitress know that I have an issue.
And that's acceptable. I used to do this a lot more, but one of my favorite things in the world is to fuck with a waitress. And I know when I finish, it sounds bad. When I finish the story, you'll understand where I'm coming from. But when I have really outstanding service, I'll act like I'm pissy and I'll be like, I need to see your manager. And they'll come over and I'll be like, you guys hear a lot of complaints all day. Why don't you just hear something good? The waitress was fucking awesome. Yep. I just wanted to let you know I had a great experience. And then they always come up like, you son of a bitch. I thought you were going to complain about me. And I'm like, no, you were just great.
I do that a lot. If a waitress or my waiter are outstanding, I will ask for the manager. Mm-hmm. And not only that, I will also write it on my bill.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So you're like...
I'd agree with you. If I order something with a bunch of add-ons and they forget a few, it is what it is. It's my fault for being extra bougie, as you were saying. But if I at least let's say a steak, if I order and it's not cooked right, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna send it back because if it's not edible, it's not edible. You know, and just as a story behind that, I had gone to a restaurant a couple months back with my parents and ordered a steak there, medium rare, and it comes out and everybody's cutting into their food, enjoying it. All their food's good. I cut mine. The first bite, I look, and I'm like, that's well done. It's like, that's the edge. Okay, let's eat it. Another bite. Well done.
Ruh-roh. All of our shit's
Mike.
falling apart on us
By the
today.
way, Mike. And let me fix that real quick.
No problem. We all do it.
And
Idiot.
so ended up getting through halfway through the steak before I realized this whole steak is well done. So finally, I said something to the waitress at that point, and they took care of it, got me a whole nother steak, and I'm like, well, I've already eaten half of it. Like, at this point, you know, again, it was very, very overcooked, really, really hard to eat, well done steak. I wish I would have said something sooner, but
See, and I always feel bad, like, when, especially if it's something like that where I'm halfway through it, I'm like, don't comp it. Just, if you want to remake it, sure, but, like, I don't need free food. And that's always my biggest thing is, even when I complain, I always say to the manager, I'm like, I don't need free food.
Yes.
I ate my meal, but I want you to know for the future. You
Right.
train your staff better or fix whatever the problem is for the future customer.
That's what ended up happening. They just gave me a replacement. I told them, don't take it off the bill. They ended up doing it anyways, but I was like, you know, you don't have to. But hey, I had breakfast for the next morning too. Ended up having some steak and potatoes.
And see, steak is probably one of the few things I need it to be right.
Yes.
Especially because when I get a steak, I'm not like my father going to a chain restaurant, which you'll say tooth and nail that, you know, like Outback Steakhouse and shit like that. Or Texas Roadhouse is
I hate
right.
Outback.
Whatever, Texas Roadhouse.
Love it.
I don't go there for a steak. When I go out for a steak, I'm going to a Mr. Paul's or a Revel Steakhouse or somewhere where I'm spending $60 on a steak. And if you don't know how to cook a steak at a high-end steakhouse, get the fuck out.
So, to this point, let me ask you a question.
No.
At what point do you blame the waitress for your meal?
That's a
Because
really...
I can tell you there are certain cases where, granted, the waitress doesn't control the cook on your food.
Correct.
But at what point do you blame the waitress for delivering that horrible fucking meal to you?
I can tell you first and foremost, especially with POS systems the way they are now, where all modifications are done with a button instead of written down. If I get my receipt and there's nothing on there, how's the cook gonna know?
So how about you get, let's say you get a meal and it is so visually bad.
Right.
Visually, so it just looks
Visually,
That's
it's just horrid.
That's
right?
usually a cook's problem.
But should that waitress bring that meal to you, or should she stop it right at their window and say, I'm not serving this?
As someone that has worked in restaurants on both sides of that, as server and cook, you piss off the cooks, they're going to fuck up your food all night, and that's going to fuck with your tips. So typically, you're going to bring that food to the table and hope they don't complain.
And I can tell you that at a certain point, if my waitress brings me something, so let's say a steak, right? All she can see is a brown on the outside. She doesn't know how that steak is made. That's not on her.
Right.
But if they brought you a steak and it's gray and you ordered well done and there's blood running out of it and she can visually see all of this and she still brings that steak to you, don't you think at a certain point you have to just say, this waitress should have said, I'm not serving this?
I'm gonna say, as someone that has served, I don't look and visually inspect your food. I grab it off there and go to the table because I want to be attentive and quick. I know you hate that answer, but we're not looking at the food before we bring it to you.
I may be wrong, but I would never blame the waitress for the food.
Here's where waitresses lose tip. Bad attitude.
Yep.
That is the biggest one.
And if my drink ever gets empty.
You know what? It can get empty, but be attentive. I actually just did a
If
review.
my waitress is busy, and I mean really busy, I totally understand. I drank my drink
Yeah,
and she hasn't been
if the
back.
restaurant,
I'm okay with
if
that.
the restaurant's busy, yeah, I get that.
My name's Chugger. I drink 4 or 5 cups of whatever the hell I'm drinking at dinner. If they're busy, I make it easy on them. Bring me 2.
Yeah, I'll tell them.
Or bring me a
Yes,
pitcher if I'm
bring a
drinking
pitcher.
water. But the waitress gets blamed for a bad attitude for me. You know what? If you're having a bad day, I get it, but you're in service. We're right now on a podcast. I've done trivia hosting and karaoke hosting and things that you have to use your voice and be entertaining and attentive. I've served, I've bartended, I've cooked. It is, to me, a voice acting job. I have literally sat hosting trivia with my buddy Scott, and we're fighting. We're like at each other's throats. I'm like, you fucking dickhead, you did this, you fucked this up, fuck you. And the next question, it's just voice acting. And I know it's hard to shed that shit, but you have to do it because that's your job. Yep. We all have bad days. I am, I'll tell you, and this goes, and I'm not trying to fucking be the only one that talks here. The way that I've told everyone that I get jobs.
No, I appreciate that tonight.
I get very easily I get jobs when I apply and get to interviews. I typically get the job. And the way I do that is because what is one of the most popular things that people ask you? What is your strengths? What is your skills? What's your superpowers? However they want to word it. I tell them all the time, listen, you can teach anyone that has some technical skills what I do. I am a master at customer service. I'm going to take care of their computer issue that's pissing them off and make them happy at the same time. Yep. And that's my superpower. You're in, a service world too.
Yes.
If you walked into a mechanic and he's like, "What the fuck do you need?" I'm going somewhere else typically. Yeah. The one I went to and got my AC fixed a couple weeks ago, he was super fucking cool. We talked for 30 minutes before I left. It makes a huge difference to me. Yep. So,
building a relationship with your customers, no matter what position you're in, is very important. And
isn't that true though? Basically, of any position you're in,
for the most part.
Yeah.
But again, that's what
I want to be successful in any position. Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
Even in my position, before I retired, it was the same thing.
It's special needs, not retarded.
If I did,
retired.
Most of my job was simply making other people feel good about what they're able to do. I mean, you have to have that ability, or you don't succeed.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I mean, you could be the best at your job. And you could be a master mechanic and know 100% of anything that anybody throws at you. But if you don't have a customer base and be able to talk to that person, they don't come back.
Right.
And that's true of most jobs.
I completely agree. Now, I'm going to ask this real quick. You brought up blame the waitress and all that type of shit. Tipping culture. I'm going to start by saying I'm a good tipper. My tips typically are 20 to 25% standard. And I typically tip more than that, especially at places I'm a regular at. Like, I'll have a $20 tab and tip $10. And that definitely goes for my local watering hole because
sadly, so am I.
So my friends end up I become friends with the servers and the bartenders and all that shit. When I have bad service, my way of getting to them is tipping 15%. I don't ever get egregious and a complete dickhead because
you're still getting a service. They're still doing their job. Minimum 15%, no matter how bad the service is, because again, they can't control every obstacle that comes up in their day. And if they had a string of bad customers that put them in a bad mood, again, yes, the attitude is important, but you can't blame them for that. They're still there doing their job.
Yeah.
And that is how they make their money.
Sadly, a lot of the places that I go to, I am almost on a friend basis. I mean, and I'm not talking just our typical watering hole, but I mean, a lot of places I go to, I'm a regular, right? And we get to know each other. I could have terrible service and I still tip more than generously.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised when they get a good tip, too. That might turn their fucking whole day around.
I mean, they could be having a bad day. I get it. The problem I have with tipping, and don't get me wrong, I never hold my food against a waitress, except when it's so visually bad that I don't think that waitress doing her job should have ever brought that to your table. How many times has a waitress ever brought you your food and said, "I'm sorry," and gave you this food anyway? Apologized before she even gave it to you.
Yeah.
Because she knew it was so fucking bad.
I can't think of a time that's ever happened to me.
Oh, it's happened to me multiple times.
So maybe it's you.
And if it's that bad that you already know it's bad, please don't bring that food to me.
They're
Just send that shit back.
The biggest issue I have with tipping culture is, one, things like fast food that have tips now or tip jars.
Jesus.
Not gonna do it.
Or another one from God, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, when you're tipping for things that is just the person's normal job.
Our tipping culture is way out of control.
Yeah. And it spills over into some other things like tattoo artists. I've always tipped my tattoo artist. But now there's people online saying, yeah, you give them 20%. I'm like, fuck no, you don't. I'm not getting a $1,000 tattoo and tipping $200. These guys set their own price. So if I get a $500 tattoo, I'll tip you 20, 30, 40 bucks maybe, but there's no way I'm giving a huge fucking tip. Right. You know, so that one's getting a little egregious in my opinion. Now, I will say there has been a couple times, and unfortunately I'm a DoorDash fucking fiend, that I have called DoorDash and said, I want my tip back. 2 times it's happened. One time, they definitely dropped my food and didn't say anything. Everything was just all fucked up. Everything's spilling. My burger was all over the fucking place. I think that, in that opinion, he knew he did something wrong. He should have reported it, let me know. I could have got, I got a refund, whatever. It just pissed me off, so I wanted my tip back. The other time, I have nothing against people that smoke weed. I actually like the smell of weed when it's being smoked. I don't smoke myself. But one time, and I know if anyone here smokes weed, if you know the smell of weed when it gets stale, the smoke, it's nasty. It's worse. It's disgusting. And this person was obviously smoking in their car, and it caught the smoke in the bag. And when I opened the bag, all my food smelled like that stale weed smoke. And I reported it and got my money back. And I'm like, it turned me off. It was a complete deterrent for eating my meal at that point. I don't know if anyone wants to chime in on that one, but that was, I think that's very egregious.
Okay, so let me ask you a question talking about tipping. So you order a pizza online, but you're going to go pick it up. Should you tip?
So with pizza, I wouldn't. Now, if I'm ordering carryout from a restaurant where the server is boxing it up and putting stuff in the
That's
bag,
different.
I give them $1. I don't do a full 15, 20%.
Nope.
I'll give $1 or $2 for a $30 carryout meal, a couple meals. For pizza, no. I wouldn't do that unless they did something extra for me.
But yet, when you order your pizza online, everything nowadays, our culture is, no matter what you do, there's always a tip menu.
Yeah, that's what
when
I'm
you're
saying.
done. And it's like, first off, I'm placing the order. You're not. I'm coming and getting the meal. You're not delivering it. All you're going to do is take my money when you get there, and you expect me to tip you for this.
Yeah.
Our tipping is out of control.
One of them in that same breath, food trucks. Typically, a food truck, you have an owner-operator
It's a
that's
private
there.
owner.
And they're usually the ones running it and operating it at the time. They're
Correct.
cooking it, they're selling it, they own everything. And then they want a tip on top of it. No. If you need extra money, incorporate it into your cost of my meal. But then again, I can talk about food trucks on top of that because they used to be a cheaper alternative to restaurants and they were delicious. And now they're more expensive than your
Yes.
average restaurant. I fucking hate that.
Most food trucks are.
But I will say this about tipping. A lot of people out there go, we need to just, increase food prices and pay these people normal wage or minimum wage or whatever. And I'm like, anyone that has worked in the service industry does not want that. They make way more money on tips than you'd ever imagine.
Correct.
I'll even bring up like a Texas Roadhouse. Around here, they're always fucking busy,
Yes.
packed.
Number one place in this whole country, if I'm not mistaken.
And you figure your average server has anywhere from probably 6 to 8 tables. And if they're turning them over every 45 minutes to an hour, let's just say it's an hour.
Say it's an hour.
And 6 people. And let's say your average person is spending $100 for that table. Yeah. And you're getting 20%. You're getting $20 times 6 each hour.
Correct.
There's no fucking way you want to be paid $15 an hour.
Right.
Fuck that.
Do you think, and this goes a little offbeat from the tipping, how many times have you gone to a restaurant lately and you see a service fee?
Oh God, that one pisses me off. Where they'll add 3 to 5% on a service fee. I also hate forced tipping.
Don't forget the fee. Fee for their fees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I see it more and more. parties of 6 or more, automatic 18% gratuity.
Gratuity, yeah.
You know what? That's fine, but I tip better than 18%. You're robbing your person of money, and I don't add extra tip unless I had the best fucking service.
What about when they block off the 10%, 15% option and only show the higher percentage?
Yeah, and there's no custom or anything like that. Yep.
I went to Red Crab the other day. They had a service fee. So, what the fuck am I paying a service fee for? I'm already paying you good money because they're not cheap.
No.
They're not the most expensive place, but they're not cheap, and yet they had a service fee. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see a service fee. If you feel that you need more money, add it into my dinner price and let me know what I'm paying.
It should be illegal to do that because it's usually fine print and you don't find out until after the meal's had.
And that was the problem I had the other day. I simply got my bill. It's like, okay, here's what I bought. Well, now I have an added charge.
Right.
It's like, no.
It should be on their menu.
But if and to your point, if you have an automatic tip, just because there's a party of 4 or more, or 6 or more, or whatever, I generally tip better than that. But guess what I don't do if I see that on my bill?
Tip extra.
I don't tip extra.
I think we've talked about it. You've done it once.
Very rarely. I mean, if I was somewhere and my waitress is just over the top phenomenal, I might add something.
Yeah.
But as just a general, you just lost money.
Yeah, completely agree. And I will say, this is just a fun fact on the side for you guys before we take our break. You brought up service fees, so it made me think of this. My first one is, if anyone has a sign, and it's common at gas stations, $10 minimum for a credit card charge, not allowed to do that. You can actually report them, and they can lose their licensing with MasterCard or Visa or whoever's running that. They can say 50 cents extra as a fee if you use it, but they cannot have minimums by their contract.
Really?
That is true. The other one, and this one's for me, because I personally hate doing it.
Before you bring that point up, do you understand why places, or why they're not allowed to do that? Or why they have those extra fees on there and say $10 minimum?
Yeah, because they get charged.
There is a flat fee they're paying.
The average fee is 2.9% plus like 50 cents per transaction. So it does cost them money to run that card, yes, because the processor has to take their fee. But that's why they do. But whatever, I digress. That's all supposed to be built into your pricing of your service or your goods. The other one, though, this is just a fun fact. It is illegal, at least in the state of Michigan, to ask ID when you're using a credit card.
I don't give ID.
Yeah, you ever give them a credit card and they go, "I need to see your ID"?
Yeah.
It's illegal. It's called an invasion of privacy per law, and you do not have to show them.
I haven't seen.
There
that
was at
in
one point that I would write on the back
years.
of my signing it, put
CID. Now,
Yeah.
now that's actually not allowed by contract with MasterCard, Visa, Discover, and American Express.
You must have a signature.
It must have a signature. That's not
oh my
valid.
god.
What if on the machine it tells you to check the ID because the credit card company says to check it?
So if that's happening, that's coming from the credit card processor.
Okay.
Typically, it's a fraud alert or a stolen credit card. But yeah, in Michigan, you're legally not required to show ID with credit cards. But you're also protected. Credit card charges over $1. Anything that's fraud is completely protected.
You do realize that when you go to Walmart, you don't have to show your receipt either.
Yeah. The only way you have to show your receipt is with your membership places, Sam's Club, Costco, BJ's, because you're contractually saying, I will show my receipt on the way out.
When you leave a Walmart and they ask you for your receipt, you have the right to refuse. However, Walmart, being a private company, has the right to refuse you to come back to their store.
Absolutely.
So they can ban you for that, but legally you are not obligated to do that. I never show a receipt, especially now.
There's no X in that word.
If you
He's just going to ignore that.
if you're going to go through a self-checkout, you trusted me to ring up
to do
my
your
own
job.
It gets worse.
I did my job, and I rung everything up. If I made a mistake, that's on you.
It gets even better because I was at Walmart on my trip this weekend. Walmart now says no receipt, text receipt, email receipt.
Correct.
Yes.
So you don't even get a printed receipt if you don't want one.
And when you walk to the door and they ask you for a receipt, just say,
Oh.
you just gave me the option not to have a receipt.
I
And that
actually,
is fairly new, by the way.
as someone that worked loss prevention for 6 years, and we trained our door greeters, receipt checkers, whatever you want to call them. I always want someone to stop me and detain me and try and arrest me and pull me back because I'm like, I'm taking the lawsuit
All day.
and you don't even have to you don't even have to get there. Walmart, Meijer, Target, all these places. If you threaten them with an actual lawyer, you hire a lawyer, they're usually going to just settle out of court.
Correct.
And you're looking between $10,000 and $20,000 typically. Fuck yeah, I want that to happen to me.
And it's still cheaper for them.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So I will say the funniest thing that ever happened to me, though, is one time I went to Meijer, I bought a half gallon of Sailor Jerry, paid for it at the self-checkout. First of all, they have what's called a spirit cap. And it's that locking thing that goes on top of the liquor.
The black.
So it was removed, and the door greeter should have saw that. But I walk out. I just left my receipt at the self-checkout because I was in a rush. I walk out with a half gallon in my hand, and she goes, I need to see your receipt. I'm like, it's at the self-checkout. And she goes, she screeched, I'm calling the cops! And I just busted out laughing. So that was just like, what are the cops? You know what's funny is the cops do come to Meijer a lot. If they actually called and said that, they would absolutely try and pull me over and check ownership and all that shit. But door greeters at Meijer are not allowed to call the police. They have to call loss prevention or a manager. I'll give all the trade secrets if you guys want them for that.
Walmart is no longer to have physical detention either.
That is not 100% true. They are allowed to do that if they are touched first.
That's a different
There's
story.
extenuating circumstances in which all of them are allowed to. I unfortunately know all the ins and outs about that. But unless anyone else has anything else, I think it's about time for a break. Tommy's alive. He probably has something.
I had a bunch of stuff prepared for tonight, and unfortunately, I don't know what
Drank him away?
I had almost less than what I usually do, and I don't know if it was the heat.
The speed at which you drank it, maybe?
Can I get you a shot, Tommy?
No, I honestly, I don't know what.
I'll get you a shot.
I don't know if it was the heat. Maybe since I've not been hungry as much. And I haven't been eating this much. I don't know what. But I'm feeling better now.
I think somebody put a date rape drug in your drink there, Tommy.
I think Scott was trying to take advantage of me. Since I have been losing weight, I seen this and it was either a TikTok video or another podcast. I heard this and I hate the word trauma, but this is something that I used to do, and this is more going to be directed towards you, James.
The fuck? Is I'm the other fat guy here?
Oh, then I can
absolutely
take my headphones off and not pay
And
attention.
yes, it actually is.
Kevin's got a fat heart. It's a compliment.
It is because
I've
you
seen
are
him eat.
because
He
you
can
are
I thought you were
big.
going to say something else for a second.
Kevin's got a fat cock. He told me at Kayla's birthday party.
It's like a pop can.
Because I
On that
used to
note,
do
I am
this,
taking my headphones
and
off.
I'm more comfortable talking about the stupid things that I used to do, being big. And I know you're looking at me like, yeah, you're still big, and sometimes it's hard to talk about the stupid things that I did, being as big as I used to be. I'm stumbling over my words not because of the stuff that I did earlier today, but because it is hard to talk things what I'm going to tell you. So the thing that I'm trying to express, I'm sorry.
No, I've never had sex with food.
No.
I know I joke about it a lot, but
Like I said, the word trauma. When I used to go through the drive-thru, let's say I wanted to get a Big Mac and a fry. I would order a Big Mac and a fry, but that would not be enough for me to eat. So then I would act like I needed more for a friend. So I would say, Yeah, I'll take a number one. Number one. Yeah, super size, or at the time, I'll take a large size with a Coke. 1 sec, I gotta make sure I got this right. I gotta check my text. Yeah, and I'll take a 10-piece nugget and a McChicken. And act like that was
Somebody else's order.
So,
because-
Key and Peele. Have you seen the skit where he's ordering pizza?
Yeah.
Yes.
So he has the big fat bodysuit on.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll take a ham pineapple and then a sausage pineapple. And he's like, do you want anything else? He's like, let me gauge the room. Okay, hands up.
Yes.
And then it's just all of his dolls around there.
Yeah. I think one actually was in one of the guys from Impractical Jokers was talking about this past week, and that just brought that back up. That I actually used to do that at one of my biggest points in my life, and it's like now if I ever go to McDonald's, it's like I'll take one sandwich, and now I hardly even finish that sandwich, and I was just, what is your one most embarrassing fat hack or fat thing that you guys used to do that you may not do anymore? And like, Kevin, I've just met you tonight, and Big Papa Fresh, you're really not that big, but James, you are kind of in the boat that I am. Is there anything that you used to do that you don't do anymore?
Absolutely. There's two of them. The first one, I think I've talked about it before. It wasn't, I didn't care what the order taker thought of me. It would be, I'm hiding it from, usually it was my significant other at the time. Mm-hmm. I would go there and be like, oh, I'll volunteer to go get the food, and I'll get her food and my food, and then I'll add an extra sandwich, and I'll eat it before I get home, so she doesn't see that I'm eating extra.
That been there.
So that is my big one. I no longer do that because at this point, I have no shame as an adult. As the older I get, I have less shame. The other one, and you know what? I won't even say I don't do it anymore. I just haven't done it because, I don't know, there's nothing been good enough for me to do it. But I have sat there, eaten a meal, not finished it, threw it away, and like an hour later, I'm like, I'm hungry again. I'm like, it's at the top of the garbage in a container, and I'll pull it back out and eat it. So those are the two things I've done.
I can tell you that often. I can tell you many times that I have gone and volunteered to go pick up the food.
Yeah.
Because I would order our meals, and then when I got there, I would do an add-on and eat that on my way home.
Yeah.
It's
then
the road snack.
before I ever walked back in the house, I would literally go to the trash can outside and throw the wrappers away so that she didn't know I ate it.
You know what? I will say one more. And this only happened when I lived with my mom because that's who my scapegoat was. But it would be, my live-in girlfriend would have her leftovers in the fridge, and I'd eat them. And I'd be like, Mom, if she brings it up, you cleaned out the fridge and didn't know whose it was and threw it away. So I've done that too. So there was a lot of I'm fat and I'm just going to eat.
Yeah.
I think as a fat person, we can all come up and tell you that we've had many creative ways to get our extra food.
Yeah, but I don't know why that one hit me so hard hearing that past week, because I used to do that all the time. I don't know why. Like, I'd go to McDonald's and I would just say, I'll take a McDouble and a McChicken, and one second, I got to remember what she wanted.
Yep.
Kevin, you're on a food podcast. What's the fattest thing? Habit, sneakiness. What is the fattest thing you've done? Because I wouldn't call you a fat guy, but were you ever bigger
that's why
than you
I
are
said
now?
I didn't. It would be more directed to James.
No, I'm about 50 pounds lighter than what I was about 2 years ago.
I was going to say, even when I met you, I think you were bigger.
Yeah. Stopping somewhere, like a family member's house, and they're serving food, and it looked good, and you eat a whole meal there, and you get home and dinner's done.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I have 2 dinners tonight, and you just eat away because you don't want them to get mad that they cooked this extravagant meal for you, waiting for you at home, and you don't want to, upset them. And
That's eating out of guilt.
I can even go, though, anti-fat here, in that I have lied and said I already ate before I came here when it's someone's house that I know is a terrible fucking cook.
Yeah, I've done that too. Yeah.
So I do that. I have done that.
I think we've all done that, though.
I think I do it a lot more because it's a family member. So I'm not getting into details.
Here's my thing. If somebody's inviting me for dinner, and tell me if I'm the only one, because I don't think I am, but you know that person is just a filthy, filthy person, and they invite you for dinner. Have you ever gone there and said, yeah, we just ate, I'm not hungry, and you're fucking starving?
I just flat out refuse to eat at someone's house if I know they are just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
I have a friend that has invited me over for dinner, and I know for a fact that at least they used to, they'd have puddles of dog shit and piss around their house, and they just let their cats. I don't let my cat on my counter. Like, I have a cat. Fur does get around, and sometimes you'll be unlucky and find a piece of fucking cat or dog fur in your food. But I don't let my cat on my kitchen table, my counters, my cooking surfaces because of that reason. You don't want fucking shit cat paw prints on your fucking counter. I'm sorry. So yeah, I mean, I just flat out refuse to do that. I'm like, hey, I'm a special diet. I am more and more nervous about potlucks as I get older because of that kind of reason.
Even buffets.
I'll eat anything. I don't want to eat filth. So, and I'm not talking about a lived-in house. I'm talking about a disgusting human being. There's a whole different thing.
Just certain people. There's just I will come up with any reason.
Comparatively to a lot of people, my house would be considered dirty, but it's not. It's just cluttered and out of place. It's a lived-in house with kids and a family. It's a whole different thing. It's not dirty per se.
One thing.
So on that note, is it break time?
I do have two more things if I can rush through them. I have a list that has the fast food places that are most likely to get your food order correct.
Correct.
Yes. It's the top 8. So instead of having you guess, since I've been out of it for the past hour, at number 8, KFC, 82% of the time, they will get your order correct.
That's too low.
I know.
That's 1 in 5 incorrect orders.
Dunkin' Donuts is 83%.
Okay, that's really
It's
good.
a fucking donut.
I was just going to say.
Yeah.
But then again, they have a full fucking breakfast menu now, so.
Wendy's is 85%.
Wendy's is if you would have asked me what my most accurate fast food restaurant is, Wendy's would have been my choice.
Taco Bell is at 86.
That can go fuck itself.
Every time I go to
I'd
Taco
put
Bell,
that at like 20%.
It's always wrong.
always.
McDonald's and Arby's are tied for 4 and 5 at 87.
Arby's usually is correct. McDonald's, you know what? McDonald's gets my order. They miss items more than things are wrong.
Yes.
I think that
Sauces especially.
I couldn't tell you the last time I've had an incorrect order from Arby's.
Yeah,
I mean, how can you mess up a roast beef?
Arby's.
I mean, I've just
Ask a
never,
porn star.
I mean, regardless of what you order, I've never had a wrong item.
Well, here's the
or
big
made
thing.
wrong from Arby's.
Here's the big thing. It gets too much hate. Arby's is the Nickelback of fast food. They are the best fast food there is. I'm sorry. When it comes to quality, Arby's is it.
I'd put them up there in the top 2 for sure.
And then we got Burger King at 89% of the time. And then number 1 is Chick-fil-A at 92%.
I could see that.
Yeah, I believe that.
They're very attentive in what they do.
And
Yeah.
they also pay their fucking employees double everything else. So, you're looking at a cashier starting at $18 an hour. I mean, they're going to work a little harder for you.
Too bad the food is not justifiably as good as they say it is.
You know what? Chick-fil-A is...
It's something different.
It's okay. I when it comes to your chicken restaurants, I'd put it at number 2. But it's not a go-to by any means because of different reasons, and I'm going to go ahead and say it's right there.
Now,
I think, truthfully, Chick-fil-A was the cat's ass of its time. But they're not anymore.
Right.
They just have not kept up with everybody else. They have just stayed stagnant. But we've had that chicken war before, so...
and then I had a bunch of sports topics to talk about. This one might hit more home for James. You may not know by the name, but the gentleman, his name is John. I might mess up his name. Brinkus. Have you ever watched the show Sports Science?
No.
It used to be like a piece done. He would like. I'll bring it like more. He used to. Let's just use Patrick Mahomes for instance. He would break down how fast he would throw the ball, or at the arc that he would throw the football, or things like that. He lost his battle with depression, and he offed himself over the weekend, and so he died at 54 years old over the weekend. That happened just today, or at least it was released today. So I didn't know if anybody had heard. So I figured James knew what Sports Science was because it was featured on ESPN a lot and or on FSD. I couldn't remember, but I watched it a lot, so I didn't know if he was familiar with Sports Science. But yeah, I had a lot of sports topics, and like I said, I wasn't really coherent for a lot of the show.
You weren't awake for it either.
Well, I felt like I was awake. Like I heard you guys talking about the drums and breaks and stuff. It's just I was waiting for my time to actually engage, but I was like, I'm not lifting my head for this part.
Yeah, you full on fell asleep at one point. It's all good. Anything else we got for it?
Well, I mean, I can keep talking while you guys are doing,
All right, get your time in, Tommy.
Yeah.
I'll cut up these burgers.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Yeah, so I feel like I need to eat some crow. So Javi Baez. I hated that man. I know not everybody watches baseball here at the table. But I almost feel like I owe the man to buy his jersey because at the end of last year, I wanted to buy his jersey just to burn it. And now, when I was thinking about this topic, he was really, really hot the past week and a half ago. But with Memorial Day, we didn't have a podcast. And he's cooled off in the past week or so. But I just wanted to bring up a couple of his stats the past 2 years compared to where he is this year. So these are just I'm going to tell you back in, so we'll consider this the 2025 year. So in 2023, he had 113 hits. His average was a 222, and his WAR was 0.7, and his on-base percentage was a 267. And then last year, his hits were 50, and his average was a 184. And his WAR was a negative 1.1. This year so far, he is, let's see. I'm going to look here. Hits, he has 45 hits. He's already has 29 RBIs. His WAR is a 1.3. His average is a 273. His on-base percentage is a 306, and his average is a 273. Now, when they said they were going to put him in center field instead of putting him on third base or in shortstops, I'm like, oh my God, why don't they just cut this dude? But they had so many injuries at center field they were just placing him there, and he's kind of been an all-star.
He's earned his keep.
And
Who's on first?
if the season was to end today, he's done more in the past 2 years, done more this year than he's done the past 2 years.
That's correct.
And I kind of feel like it, not an idiot, but I don't know. I feel, I was just watching some of his past interviews, and he's like, I'm used to getting booed. And it's like, I kind of felt, I don't know.
Well, would you buy that jersey just because of what he did? Would you buy that jersey just because of what he did this year? Or would you want that jersey for what he is altogether?
I guess I just felt bad because I even told Becca at the end of the season, or when he supposedly got hurt, and then they went, because he got hurt, and then they went on the miraculous run to make it to the playoffs. I'm like, see, that's
Sorry.
why I had James. He sounded like me an hour ago.
Baseball is just boring to me.
It can be fun because, like, Tarek Skubal, watching him pitch, man.
I like going to a game. I cannot watch baseball on TV.
They've played 60 games so far. I probably missed maybe 10 games.
So you got FanDuel?
I have IPTV. And then if I'm not watching it live, I listen on Odyssey.
The worst thing for me, because baseball is struggling as a sport, it is America's game.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not.
And we are struggling in the last few years to keep it there.
America's game is full.
And they made it worse
James is
by
right.
this year because now you want to watch Tiger baseball, you got to have FanDuel.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for it. So guess what? I don't get to watch.
There is a thing called IPTV, and James really pushed me to get a VPN. And I pay $30 a month for IPTV, and I have all the channels, and I have any pay-per-view I want, anything I want, every channel, and everything. And I love it.
Yeah, I got to figure something out because I do like watching baseball.
I've had it. I've had this IPTV. I had different services back in the past. I've been using IPTV for probably 6 or 7 years, and then they would get shut down. Whatever because. But I've had this service now for almost 4.5 years. I love it. No issues, no buffering, no nothing, and I swear by it.
Well, you can get into your secrets after this. How about that?
Yeah.
We're outside. I don't want the bugs to get to our food, and
Absolutely.
it's kind of fresh right now. So we're going to continue our burger wars today. Kevin, so far we have done McDonald's, Burger King, and Checkers. Today we have Wendy's in the grasp. First round, Burger King beat McDonald's, and the way this is working is it's the number one combo.
Okay.
So it's your signature dish. The Whopper beat the Big Mac, and then the Buford beat the Whopper. So today we have the Wendy's, and this is the Dave's Double. And now this is kind of stretching the rules, but not breaking the rules because it's still a number one combo because number one at Wendy's, you can get single, double, triple.
Yep.
So we did the double because that's the most comparative to the Big Buford.
Yep.
So before we taste test the Wendy's Dave's Double and the Checkers Rally's Big Buford, what's your guys' prediction on who's going to move on?
When I go to Wendy's, I usually get the Dave's Double, and I thought that Big Buford was going to win out through the whole tournament, or at least up to certain places that we went. But then when I went last time we did this, I wasn't impressed as much by the Big Buford. So, having said that, I might lean towards the Wendy's, but I'm hoping the Big Buford wins. But we shall see.
I'm predicting the Buford.
I'm going to agree with you, Buford, on this one.
I'm actually thinking Wendy's. Now, as you guys were talking, so there's less dead space, I tried the Buford. We've already had it, so I don't think I was cheating by doing that. I think the Wendy's Dave's Double is going to win, and I think Wendy's has the better beef patty, which is the star of the show, I guess. The one thing that the Buford does have that other restaurants don't is I think red onion is a better burger onion than white onion, whereas everyone does white onion. And I don't know why. It's not more expensive. So
I think we discussed on one of the last pods is that Kroger was going to be selling the Wendy's patty frozen, and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense because they're never frozen. I went to Kroger on Friday to do some grocery shopping, and I actually seen it, and I actually picked it up because I thought it, it was funny, and we had discussed it. I have not cooked it yet, but I did pick it up.
now, the Buford, it is my, unless I'm getting the 2 for $4 deal at Checkers, it is what I get there. Today, it feels like it wasn't as good as last time we had it.
I agree.
It's still solid.
Yes. It's still a good burger.
I'm going to give it today a 7.4 out of 10.
I was going to say about a 7. I think last time I said an 8, but I'm going to go at a 7.
I'm up with the Buford at a solid 7.
Yeah, talking to the mic.
Solid 7 on the Buford.
Now, the Wendy's Double is a more hefty burger.
Yeah, just looking at it visually, it sits higher up, so it looks like it's...
I didn't think there was that much of a size difference, but it is quite a bit larger, even in quarters, which I cut it.
But I don't think the flavor is
Yeah,
there.
I'd say the Buford had more flavor than the Dave's Double. May have just been this time around, but
I mean, I'm a fan of the Wendy's Double, but this one particularly doesn't have a lot of flavor.
the toppings actually overpowered the patty.
I can't distinguish any of the toppings.
Yeah.
And see, I think you're wrong. I am going with the Wendy's burger better. I think the meat's better, and I'll tell you the biggest part for me that is much better. The Wendy's bun.
The bread.
The bun at Wendy's is leaps and bounds above the Buford, and you can taste it. It's a buttery, like brioche bun. It's delicious.
I'll give the bun credit. It's what's in the bun that I'm not giving the credit to.
So I'm going with an 8 for the Dave's Double.
I'm really having a hard time here.
6.
That low?
Yep.
That's like I barely like it. That's worse than the Whopper and the Big Mac.
I'm gonna have to
There's
go
not a lot of flavor.
for the Buford 7.5 because it's consistent. Every time you get a Buford,
James,
it
I don't know
pretty
what to
much
do.
tastes the same. The Dave's Double, I'd say it was more of a 5 for me.
I'd say go with
It's
your heart,
plain.
but no,
It's
go with your
very
stomach.
plain today.
Yeah.
The Buford, all the flavors, everything on here, I can taste. I can taste it all,
James, I don't
but
know.
I cannot on the Wendy's.
You're not going to offend me whichever way you
No,
go.
no. I'm with you because I feel like the Buford was the better experience, but the only reason why I'm saying it was the better experience was because I tasted more of the condiments and stuff, but it let me the double made me taste the meat and the bun more, and it tastes, the quality was better. So I'm like, well, the meat tasted better and the bun tasted better. So was...
See, I mean, I think they're both solid.
Yeah,
I'm only a half
so-
a point difference here.
God.
God ain't going to help you here.
I would either eat either one of these.
Well, we didn't get fat without eating anything we want. Now, I did not get today, while Tommy's thinking about this, I did not get fries if you didn't notice. And there's a reason for that.
I'm going 8. I'm going to go 8 with the double, on the Wendy's double. I'm going to say I think it was a more pleasant experience than the Buford. I know.
So right now, we have a 50-50 tie.
I know.
So here's what we're going to do, in my opinion. I think we're going to move both of them on for the next round.
Do a triple challenge.
We'll do 3 burgers at the next one, but we'll add on, I'll do a poll on our Facebook
Okay.
to ask the audience what they like better. and we'll take that into consideration. So if it does tie again next week, we'll go to the audience and use their score as the one that moves on.
Okay.
Ultimately. Or we can even just do the poll. I mean, we can
Yeah.
do the poll, and then by the next week we have our winner, and then we can put that up against. Tommy, you have the list.
Yes.
What's our restaurant list of what
Okay,
we're going
so-
with?
Please tell me it's Culver's.
No, we have a list. We have to choose what we want to do,
So our list was Wendy's, and we knocked that out tonight.
so we can delete that.
And then the next one was
It doesn't have to be in this order. I'm just
yeah.
curious what places we have here, and we'll even get Kevin's opinion
Culver's,
on what he thinks we should do next.
Dairy Queen, Hardee's, Five Guys, California Burgers,
Yeah, that's an In-N-Out clone at 12,
yeah.
12 in DeQuinder.
Shake Shack, and Sonic.
All right, I'm going to leave Shake Shack for last because it's going to be the hardest one to obtain.
Okay.
Because I think the closest one is in Troy.
Okay.
Or
There's one in Detroit, isn't there?
there's one in Detroit and one in Troy. And then Steak and Shake, was that on there? Because I think you
No,
mentioned
there's
it.
one in Auburn Hills. Though.
Yeah, because that one would have also been difficult to get. So
Yeah.
we'll leave Shake Shack for last. Kevin, out of that list, what would you like us to rank next? I know you might not be here, probably won't be because we have different guests all the time, but what would you pick?
Definitely Culver's Butterburger.
Culver's is next week then.
I know who's going to be here next
I
week.
will be here next week.
I'll tell you straight up. I only had Culver's for the first time in the past couple of years, and they are good. Mm-hmm. I have tried their burger, their chicken, and their fish, as well as their I don't know what they call it, but their frozen custard
Concrete mixers.
concrete
Concrete
mixers.
mixers.
Fucking delicious. I love custard more than ice cream. All right, so there you have it, folks. Tie between Wendy's Dave's Double and the Big Buford from Checkers/Raley's. Go ahead and go on our Facebook at Monday Night Meat and Potatoes. We're going to put a poll up tonight, and we'll see which one you like better. I'll share that poll around my Facebook and all the social medias we can. If you guys can do the same thing, we'll figure out our winner that moves on for next week. Any final notes here, Tommy?
No. I guess anything that I had prepared, I can always save for next week.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Kevin, thanks so much for coming on. Hope you had some fun. If you liked it, we'll definitely have an opening for you in the future. So
right.
appreciate you coming
Good
on.
time.
Once again, I'm James.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Kevin.
And I'm Jeff.
Monday Night Meat and Potatoes. We're out.
This has been Monday Night Meat and Potatoes. We have big opinions and even bigger appetites. Everyone loves food, but not like us. And everyone has an opinion, but not like us. Look, it's three foodies sitting around talking food, movies, sports, personal stories, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. And we have fun. We hope you did too. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, hit us up on Facebook and Instagram at Monday Night Meat and Potatoes, on X and TikTok at Monday Night MP. See you next time on Monday Night Meat and Potatoes.